Do not adjust your radio dial. You are tuned in to the Mark Order Podcast. Join the Mark Order.
Oh yeah. It is Wednesday night. You know what that means. Time for the Mark Order Podcast here on the Shining Wizards Network. Episode 89. 89.
We got 9 episodes, baby.
No.
Nope, sorry. I totally did the thing wrong.
Oh,
For whatever reason, I was like, wait, we're not doing a 98. That doesn't matter.
And we're not doing 99. We're doing 96. Nasty 96, right? So 7 episodes?
Here's what the joke was.
It's okay, Schlong. It happens to the best of us. So yeah. It's the Mark Order Podcast. Let's see. Right now, it's the 2 live crew. Of course, Hollywood, Kate Hensler, will be in momentarily. Apparently, Schlong, we are restarting the router, whatever that means.
Restarting.
That's right. Restarting the router. So Kate will be joining us shortly, and we'll have the three best friends of the Shining Wizards Network. We're gonna rebrand that soon, though, Schlong. I keep forgetting. It's the end of the year. There's a lot of stuff still on the plate. I forgot. We're in the middle of buying a network. We're in the middle of one final pay-per-view for the year. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, we're in a big time period for us. We have to figure out if we want to make the purchase this year or save it for the books till next year, because that's going to really affect our tax bracket.
Well, here's the other thing, Schlong. We have budget left, so if we don't spend the budget, we lose it for next year. We could just throw one giant party.
We could. I'm thinking, where would we party though?
Well, anywhere we goddamn want, right? Because we have the money. So
I was thinking we all show up at Matt's house, get some hookers and blow, and really just ruin things.
Yeah, that could work. Although, the hookers will run up the budget, so that's good.
Hookers do that.
And the blow. Although blow these days I feel like is fairly cheap.
Pretty much. I think I get it for... Wait, I've said too much.
All right, well. Hey, Kratzo is checking us out tonight. What's going on, my friend? He says 9 episodes till 98. So excited. I guess nobody's doing math. But that's okay. I think Kratzo is...
I think he's making fun of me.
I agree. Been a long time since I've seen Kratzo, so thank you for checking us out, pal. Schlong, you weren't here last week. How was your Thanksgiving? You smoked the turkey.
I smoked it. I took a gun out, put a couple in it, and it was smoked.
Oh, I thought maybe you put it in your grinder, and then you grinded it up, packed yourself a nice little pipe, and smoked it. But you filled it with lead.
I filled it with lead. No, it was good. I actually... Oh, shit. Here she comes.
Could she not? She can't put herself in, so she just has to sit there. We could have made her sit and wait for like 15 minutes.
Come on, that was so rude.
Why is it rude? We're on time.
Yeah, Optimum's a little bitch.
We're on time. Welcome,
I
Kate.
love that Ryan doesn't drink in his background for Ricky Starks is impeccable.
It is perfect. It is a lot of absolute.
It is.
Kate, I was just getting the lowdown from the Rye guy because he wasn't here with us last week. I was getting the lowdown on his smoked turkey because he smoked it for Thanksgiving.
Ooh.
It was quite good.
Ladies, Ryan is here to smoke your turkey.
Yeah, amongst other things. Haha.
Haha.
I will not make a stuffing joke. I'm too classy.
All right, I'll give that to you. You are classy. You're no captain.
No, the captain's a filthy bitch.
Nah,
Oh.
he a sleaze.
What a whore the captain is.
Sleaze,
Who
please.
Kate, the best thing is you missed the beginning. I said it's episode 89. We're getting closer, and Schlong goes, just 9 episodes till. Wait a minute. He didn't do the math right.
No, I almost wish I did the math wrong. It's that I forgot it was 96 reverse 69. In my head, 98 was it.
I don't know. I have no idea.
No,
You
I
didn't
would
even do
gladly admit I
99.
just do poor math.
Well, and that's funny because you work with numbers, right? Your shoot 9 to 5 job.
Here and there. Yeah, no, it's all numbers. So it's bad that I'm bad with
So
that.
he fucked up getting to 96.
You
Oh,
fucked
boy.
up. You fucked up.
So Shalong, Thanksgiving was good. You smoked your turkey. It came out fantastic.
Hey-o!
Kate is shot out of a cannon. She's late. She shows up. She must be in a good mood because of the winter meetings today, the final day of the winter meetings. We talked a lot of baseball last week, Schlong, but Schlong, congratulations to you, good sir. We were talking before we got on the air. Trey Turner, it's a great signing for the Phils. I think you've got the NL East locked as well as that whole division.
That's what I'm hoping for. We got some pitching too. We're looking good. But I guess I have to tip my cap to you guys as well by keeping Judge.
I'm gonna
Good
give you a hot take. I don't like it.
You guys paid a lot of money for him.
He'll be 40. We'll have 5 good years out of him, and then it's a slow decline into madness.
Here's the thing, though. If he can give you 5 years anywhere close, it doesn't have to be this year, but if it's anywhere close to this year, if he gives you 5 years of that, contract's well worth it, even the bad 5.
And I'll at least take hitting 250 in the playoffs instead of the 211 his lifetime playoff average is. So you pay a guy, 360 over 9, he's got to start hitting in the fucking playoffs. I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah. And the reason I don't mind it is I feel like it's not going to prevent them from making any moves that we're going to make anyway. Like, I think they probably have the same other targets regardless. The only move they would have made if they didn't get Judge was probably another power hitter, outfielder type dude. So, like, I don't mind it because I don't feel like spending there is going to prevent them from spending anywhere else. They weren't going to beat out the Mets for what they gave Verlander. Are you kidding me? For that guy?
What, though? But I don't know if I'd want Verlander either. For 2 years at his age, I mean, he just had his, first playoff win this season. So, I don't know. I mean, good for the Mets for signing some pitching. Now they've got to keep a couple other guys.
Well, they lost some
around.
pitching. They signed some pitching. It became a thing.
I think it's a good move for the Mets. I think it would have been a dumb move for the Yankees. They could use, that guy and take that risk on him for the next 2 years. Like, they're in a position where they should do that. I feel like the Yankees aren't. Like, I feel like they go after the exact targets they're going after regardless, whether or not they sign Judge. So I think it's a good move.
Apparently they're in on who is it? Not Rondon. Is it Rondon? Yeah, they're in on Rondon.
I like that a lot.
He's another one who worries me because he really had only 2 good. The last 2 seasons were good seasons, so you got to hope that he can stay healthy.
That's everybody now, I feel like.
But my only thing is, I'm just nervous about the rest of the outfield, right? And I'm nervous about the shortstop position and third base. I mean, so here's where the Yankees are at now. Not to turn this into a Yankees podcast, but in my brain, here's where the Yankees are now. You're now handcuffed because you have to spend 40 a year on Judge over the next 9 with a full no trade clause. So he's not going fucking anywhere. You have to hope that all these young kids take the next step forward and show you something, or else we're fucked, because you can't sign a Trey Turner. You can't even really sign a Carlos Correa or a Bogarts. And the word on the street now is that Bogarts may just re-sign with Boston. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's his signing opened up the door for all the other shortstops that are hanging out there. There's the 3. There's Bogarts, Correa, and one more. I can't remember his name. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I don't love the move. A lot of Yankees fans love it. I get why they did it. He sells jerseys. And I think I read somewhere that during the home run chase there at the end, right, that last like 8 home game stretch, I mean, they were playing like the Pirates and other teams who had no chance and that nobody would want to see. I think because of the home run chase that he had, I read that they made something like an additional $40 million because those games sold. Like, just crazy.
No.
I get it.
But I also think you have a better chance of landing other people because you look like you're trying to win again. If you let Judge walk, I feel like that sends a really bad message that you're not going to be like serious about who you bring in. So I feel like, okay, now that that's there, other people might say, okay, they've got one guy who literally carried them for a season. You know what it wasn't? I don't think Aaron Judge made the decision based on getting booed for 3 games. So that whole narrative can go get fucked.
I think Hal Steinbrenner made the decision on not being booed for the rest of his life in Yankee Stadium. Yes. So smart on him. But boy, the other thing that really stuck really stuck with me, Kate, you're a Yankees fan as much as I am. Remember when Jeter's contract came back up and they told him to test free agency? They sure as shit didn't treat Judge like that.
No, they did not.
They caved to Judge and apparently gave him an extra year and an extra $60 million over the course of 2 days when they found out what the offers were.
Which were $400 million.
But to San Diego. What are you going to San Diego for?
Well, the Giants were going to match.
Apparently.
So, but
I have a question here, though.
Yeah.
It's not baseball, but it kind of is baseball related, but it got me thinking.
Sure.
You have a choice. You can be a baseball player and make $360 million. That's your career earnings. Or you can be like a business owner worth $1 billion, but all your money is tied up into the stock of your company. So while technically you could sell it, that never goes the way you think it will because the value will just drop the minute you go to sell off. So would you rather be liquid 360 or a billionaire, but it's all tied up in stock?
Liquid 360, because in 6 years I'm done and I've grown that money, and my kids and my kids' kids don't have to worry about money for the rest of their lives. If I own the business, I got to work every day.
No, I agree. I just was thinking like baseball athletes make hundreds of millions of dollars and it's all liquid.
Yeah.
Like business owners don't make liquid money like that. Everything's tied up in the stock and whatnot.
Business owners really don't. They really don't.
Who let this bitch on?
You put her on the feed.
I did. I'm logged in, bitches.
Oh, shit.
Oh, you finally decided to log in to be part of the show?
Yeah. Well,
I'll say
show
this.
Up last time.
I'll say this, Schlong. If I could have a career being a bullpen catcher and make a minimum wage in the MLB, I would do that.
If my kid could pick to just be an average pro athlete at any sport, it'd be Major League Baseball.
Oh, well, okay. Now here's another sort of hypothetical question. Of all the sports, if you could pick one for yourself, your child, whatever to be. Now you just said baseball, but think about this, Schlong. Of all the professional sports out there, what would you choose? Because I said baseball because I love baseball, but it's not the right answer.
No, it is because it's not my favorite sport even, but it's baseball. You least wear and tear on your body, most money.
No,
Absolutely
no.
baseball.
Kate, what's your answer?
So I had this conversation with your precious Trevor, and he was like,
boy.
if you're gonna be mediocre, that's tough. But he was like, if you could be any athlete in the world, it's Shaun White. That guy
Mm-mm.
snowboards
No,
competitively.
You can fuck your body up completely doing that. This is for my kid.
He snowboards competitively like 4 times a year. He makes
Well, then be a
millions off
UFC
of it.
boxer.
I can tell you this. You're both incorrect. The
Okay, what's
correct
the-
answer, professional golfer.
No, that's only if you're really good.
But that's what I'm saying. If you're going to be...
I'm saying mediocre. If you're mediocre, baseball is by far the best return. Least wear and tear on your body, and you make the most money.
But what about golf? Golf is literally
Not if you're-
no... Wait a
Not
minute.
if you're mediocre.
Think about it. No, there's like no wear and tear on your body. There is, but it's minimal. And you can do it longer than baseball.
If you're mediocre at golf, you don't make money. Not
Well,
like baseball
why would you make
money.
the money in baseball? If you're mediocre,
Because
you're
they have
not
a
getting-
minimum salary in baseball. There's no minimum salary in golf. That's why Liv came around and was like, let's throw out all this money to your top 6 guys. Because even the top 6 weren't making
I'd
that
still
money.
be a golfer because you can do it longer.
The
and you can make that
league
money.
average for a mediocre baseball player is like $5 million.
So what?
The average for a golfer is like 500,000.
But 5 million, okay. How many years do you think you're playing as a mediocre baseball player?
I think you get a solid decade in.
Okay, 10. But you could do 20 easy as a mediocre professional golfer.
I still
maybe
made more money as a baseball player.
I don't know. I'd go professional golfer.
Tony, give me mediocre.
You definitely
Give me
make more money as a mediocre baseball player over shorter length of time than you do as
Sure,
a mediocre golfer over.
But there is more wear and tear on your body as a baseball player. You're going
A ton more,
162.
though.
Yeah, but it's not contact wear and tear.
Neither is golf.
Exactly.
I'm
So neither
saying.
one's beating up your body.
As long as you're not like football or
you can't do football
even
or,
basketball is probably tough.
Basketball is extremely tough.
Yeah.
Or, snowboarding where if you fall, you could break your neck. But I'm just saying.
True, too. It's true. I have to give him that cake.
Yeah, but not like... So if you're Shaun White, though, like everybody like, oh, if you could be the best athlete in the world, people say like, oh, Tom Brady, whatever. Like
No.
that guy,
Oh,
would you stop coming in fucking hot and let me talk?
No.
If you could be any athlete, not if you could be an athlete under any sport, big Shaun White rules. You do like the X Games, you probably smoke a ton of weed, you go out there and just do this thing you think is really cool, and you like that's it. Like it's the most chill thing in the world. He makes all of his money off endorsements. He's competitive like once a business quarter, and he's the best in the world. I don't know if he is still, but like by far.
Well, he's retired from competition now.
Wait, if we're going with an actual athlete, give me Tiger Woods before he was found out that he was cheating on his wife. Most money, least work, and banging all those bitches. What is he doing wrong?
The banging all the bitches part.
Yeah, but he was worth far more than Shaun White ever was. Does a sport that a lot of guys just do as recreation. Got to travel the world, had more sponsorships than anyone.
Yeah, but now you're like choosing a specific part of his career. I'm saying if you could be anybody, it's Shaun White.
But you chose a very specific guy.
This is not fun anymore. You're coming in way too hot. Let's talk about wrestling.
Let's hold on. Let's do this. There's a couple things in the chat. Slonomite says, according to your baseball thing, you have to make it through single A, double A, triple A before you can even be a mediocre guy who gets paid in the major leagues. So you'd still have to put in a lot of time and wear and tear on your body. But Slonomite also says, football kicker or punter. There's still a lot of risk with that.
Punter, I would do. Kicker seems great until it's a fucking tie game in the playoffs and you miss the kick and now a city wants to chop your leg off.
It's very true. Kratzo says hockey goalkeeper.
Are you fucking insane, Kratzo? Do you see how fast those pucks come at those guys?
They are wearing a lot of padding.
I don't care. It's 100-mile-an-hour slap shot.
Asian Joe says, if I could be a middle reliever, a middle reliever, I'd be good with that, or a long snapper. Now, long snapper might not be a bad a bad choice because you're not supposed to get touched. So you just snap the ball, and you're like literally some guys are only on the team because they can
But
long
don't you?
snap.
But don't you have to block after you snap?
Yeah,
But
I was gonna say ask the Bengals about that.
But you can't get touched as you're snapping. So it's not like
No, but afterwards you have to make a hit.
Yeah, but you're
Alright.
initiating contact.
Then what about backup quarterback? They get paid
Not
pretty
getting-
well.
You're not getting paid that much. Not
Man, I
compared
just
to-
can't imagine like anything in football. Like it's
No,
just
that's
too much of a
the
risk.
risk reward
Like
there is just
compared to how much you make as a baseball player, like hands down baseball. And like you get to have a longer career, and even your agents like you because they're making the most that a league gives out. That's just a good situation to be in.
What's wild too, just we're talking about how football's a terrible choice. Look at football and hockey, and the guys who play hockey most of them have way longer careers, and it is
100%.
still a heavy contact sport. I guess part of it is the fact that you're gliding on ice and you're not like, your knees aren't taking a pounding running up and down a field, but still the contact piece of that I always find impressive. Those
it's
guys
also
have
the
longer
size.
careers.
Football is what 300-pound men hitting you as hard as they can.
See, this is good too. Like a middle reliever.
I literally just
like
read that.
remember like Ramiro Mendoza.
Yeah.
Like that's the perfect situation.
Well, I still would choose if I'm going to be an athlete at, let's even remove the mediocre tag. If I'm going to be a top tier athlete, I'm going to be a professional golfer because I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to be able to do it at a high level for 20, maybe 25 years. Make your money, get your endorsements. It's a lot of cash to be made in golf.
There's way more for half as long in baseball.
But you are putting your body through
Not
more.
the very little. That's not that much more, dude.
Yeah, golf you have to like do stuff now. Jack Daly's days are gone. you can't just be like a fat white guy in your 80s still trucking it out there.
That's not even the reason I'm saying to do it. I'm just saying, think about everything that you have to go through for baseball. You have to go through, look at guys, even like we were talking before about Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper had Tommy John surgery. He's not even a fucking pitcher. Like,
Yeah, but there's
wear
there's
and
golfers
tear.
who get those kinds of surgeries too on their shoulders and their back because of the stuff that golf puts on them.
Sure.
And like, but also like, as long as it's not fucking up your life for the rest of your retirement, I don't really give a shit. Like if I have to have an elbow surgery, that's fine. Football players are like, my brain is damaged and I can't walk. Like as long as my life isn't compromised from there on out, like I'll take it. Plus baseball rules.
I'm not saying it doesn't. Listen, I love baseball, but I'm just saying for me, the choice is golf. There's a lot of money to be made in golf over a long period of time if you're a top tier pro golfer. So you could be quite lucrative.
Yeah.
What I would never do, soccer player, because
Apparently I was going to say that they make a shit ton.
Of course they do, but none of it's here in the United States.
Well, that's
It's
the
all
problem. If
overseas.
you want to stay
fair.
here, you're out of
Nobody gives.
you're out of luck.
Nobody gives a fuck.
So, Kate, how have you been?
I've been busy, but good.
Good.
Tired.
Good.
Living
Yeah, I
my-
hear you there.
Living my best life. Gonna meet a couple more dogs this week.
More dogs.
Yeah, I met two. Well, I met one, and it just wasn't a love connection. And then the second one went to meet wasn't at the shelter because of false advertising. I was very upset
Of course.
because there were no other dogs there that I like vibed with. They were all like yappy, or there was one who was enormous that I couldn't bring home, which is sad. So I've just been on Pet Finder like a fucking fiend. But I'm gonna go. There's two that I'm gonna meet tomorrow. There's this one 50-pound dog that I really, really want that I can't have.
So tell them what you want, what you really want.
I really want this 50-pound golden
Then get them.
mix. I can't, not in this apartment. Because it's
What's
not
that,
even about my
golden doodle?
apartment. It's not a golden doodle. It's like a golden boxer mix. And she's so sweet. And her temperament seems very chill. But I'm like, after talking to some people who have owned 50-pound dogs, including a lab owner, I was like,
I mean, My golden was growing up was the laziest fucking dog I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, but like it's not even about my apartment. It's about that like I don't have a yard to just like let them. It's
You
the
take 'em for a
energy
walk.
piece. I can take him for a walk, but like a 50-pound dog in here without a yard, I don't know. I don't
They
think
take bigger shits too.
it is true. They take bigger shits. Like I'm
I'd
just
like
thinking
to-
of like I had Buster and he felt perfect in this apartment and he's half that size. He was like always like 27 to 32 pounds. And I was like, this is perfect for this apartment. So double that is a little much. So that was kind of like a bummer of a realization. But there's some other hot prospects that I might be drafting into
I
the
like to think Kate goes into these places with like her phone. She gets into the cage with them, puts on some tunes, and is like, "Let's see if we vibe."
Bitch, don't kill my vibe.
No, it's more just like a pathetic groveling for a dog to love me. So
Do you grab their face and just scream into it, "Love me!
yeah, that's
Love me!"
that's how they tell you to approach a dog
I know.
that you don't know. They're like, grab it by the face. It'll
You
feel
get
like
extremely aggressive.
And just scream into its face, "Love me!" And then they
Yeah,
generally look away.
We're gonna get you a mastiff.
I want one. There's like, if I could have anything, there's like some bull mastiffs I saw. There was this Great Pyrenees, which is like my dream dog, who's like 80 pounds.
What about an Irish wolfhound? Like you can ride.
That's what I want. That's what
Yeah,
I want.
I want like a dog. I've always said like I want a dog I can ride, but that's just not a possibility.
You
me
have to
tell you
really be
something.
comfortable picking up human-sized shits then,
I know
because
it's so gross.
they're giant dogs. I don't like doing it for my tiny dogs.
I also just like I think about all the times I just picked up Buster and moved him like in my life because he
Right.
was just in the way or I had to get him out of a situation or whatever. I'm like, I cannot do that with a fourth grader. Like that's not gonna
No.
work.
Meanwhile, Aunt Kate is trying to convince me to steal my sister's two 85-pound labs, thinking that'll work.
I really wanted them when they were puppies.
Yeah,
I mean,
now
that's
they're
the thing.
massive.
Everybody wants something when they're a puppy or a kitten. Like people want tiger cubs, and then they grow up to be a full tiger
And then you're a tiger king.
or queen.
Poor queen. Respect. I always think of in The Hangover when Bradley Cooper goes, I always forget about the goddamn tiger when the tiger's in the bathroom. It's like
That's right.
the most underrated line in the movie. I always forget about the goddamn tiger.
Well, your hot prospects, what are they? Do you want to give up what types of dogs they appear to be? Because sometimes I know how that goes. You get to the shelter, they're like, "You're gonna meet, a black lab," and you walk up and it's a fucking like pit bull. They're like, "Oh, it's a mix," and you're like, "No, this is a pure fucking breed pit bull."
So there were a couple. There was one that was a German Shepherd, but she was mixed with something smaller, and she was like 40 pounds. But they said she's like she gets very guarded and might not do well in like an apartment situation. So I had to check her off the list. But there's one who she's gorgeous. She's an Australian Shepherd mix. She almost looks like a miniature Falcor. She's beautiful. And then there's the 50-pound one who, unless she has an extremely chill temperament, I'm gonna have to knock off the list. She's a golden retriever boxer mix, and she had puppies that it was her and her puppies that were abandoned in a cemetery, and she kept them alive for like a month, and now all her puppies are adopted, and she's just sitting there, and I'm like,
By eating the remains of human flesh, were they zombie dogs?
ooh, maybe I'll find out. I'll find out tomorrow.
You
And-
must save her, Kate. You must save her.
And then there's a little, I think it's like a lab corgi mix. She's funny.
Ooh.
But
I can tell you this.
she looks fun.
One of my favorite dogs ever, and I love Savannah, but one of my favorite dogs ever when I was working in music. I worked out of like a basement office, and my boss had a ton of dogs at the time. Like they would foster dogs. They had a few Chihuahuas. At one point, they were fostering this brother and sister dachshund mix or dachshund. They weren't mixes. They were straight up dachshunds. One was a long hair, and I guess they were both long hair since they were brother and sister. They couldn't be separated, but they also needed ramps to walk everywhere. Like, so
Oh,
they had like 2 steps going out to their backyard, right? It was literally you go out the sliding door, there's 1 step, 2 step, you're on the ground. Those dogs were so low to the ground, they couldn't navigate the steps. They had to have a ramp for those dogs. They were cool, but the coolest dog ever was Falcor, and he was a Chinese crested. Are you aware of the Chinese crested,
I'm not.
Kate? All right, I'm
I
gonna
am
pull up a
not.
photo so you
There's
could
also
see.
this little buddy. Speaking of dachshunds,
Oh man.
she's funny.
So this is what a Chinese crested looks like. Sorry, my
No,
computer
you're
doesn't
fine.
want to share. My computer doesn't want to share now.
Wow.
Here you go. This is what a Chinese crested looks like.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
So it's hairless on like almost all of its body except for his head or its
Ooh,
head.
fire.
And like, you know, on its like right below its paws. So like Falcor was the coolest because he looked like an emo kid. He was very, very calm. I don't know if all Chinese crested are like calm, but Falcor was calm as shit. He was the man.
Dang.
But here's the problem. In the summer, like you need to put lotion on him or put a shirt on
Oh
him.
god, yeah, he'll burn.
Because they'll burn. And then in the winter, you need to dress them with clothes and stuff like that. Kate, the reason I bring it up, one, Chinese crested dogs do look like luck dragons. So that could be a match. And 2, you could then just dress it up like all the time. You could play dress up with your dog.
That's true. I can't do the hairless thing though. It's
It
weird.
is weird.
This guy is 70 pounds,
okay.
so I couldn't take him. But he
No.
remains my favorite.
Well, good luck. You've got a
Thank
couple
you.
more coming.
Yeah. We'll see.
All right.
We'll see.
We'll see. Well,
How are
guys.
you, Ant?
Oh, I'm fine. Nothing new.
Living the dream?
Still sound sort of
Used to read
shitty, but
Word
I
Up
feel
magazine.
good. That's right.
Did you watch because I didn't watch my homework of the Candian. Did you watch the Christmas wedding planner?
Not yet. I haven't had the free time yet, but I certainly plan to. So Schlong, something maybe you didn't hear last week because you weren't here. I'm not sure if you listened afterwards. I never listen back to this.
No, I don't.
So, Kate told me about a movie on Netflix, a Christmas movie. What was it? Falling for Christmas?
Falling for Christmas was the Lindsay Lohan one. And then there's the Christmas wedding planner, in which a Christmas wedding planner is dating a PI who's investigating her cousin's fiance. And Joey Fatone is in it. And there's a scene he's in where he's not in the same room as the other people of the scene he's in. Like, it's filmed.
That's right.
It's amazing. It's
you
fantastic.
did tell me about the Joey Fat one.
I have a question.
Yes.
Sure.
Is her job a wedding planner and it just happens to be Christmas? Or is she a Christmas wedding planner?
So it's her first wedding ever. So kind of TBD. This is the first wedding she's ever planned. It's her cousin's. This guy was...
So amateur wedding planner. Got it.
Amateur wedding planner. It does tend to... The wedding seems to be much more about her planning it than the actual wedding. Like, it's all a lot of pressure on her. Like, did you do this? And they're like...
I'm going to stick to watching It's Always Sunny Christmas.
Okay, but also, she texts her dead mom. Which we find out halfway through the movie. So you see her sending text messages throughout the movie, and it pulls up on the screen, and it says sent. Right, so...
Interesting. So, Kate, you did tell me about the Joey Fat one Christmas movie. But that wasn't my homework, Schlong, was not that movie. My homework was to watch the Lindsay Lohan one, Falling for Christmas, to which I'll give you the abbreviated Spark Notes version or Cliff's Notes, whatever age you are, you'll know what I'm talking about. But the short story is she's some sort of socialite. Lilo, by the way. Lindsay Lohan.
And Stitch?
Nope.
Just
Lindsay Lohan. She is some sort of socialite. She falls, hits her head, forgets who she is, and then falls in love with some guy who Kate says treats her like garbage the whole time and basically is like, clean my house, do my dishes, wash my clothes, you know, that kind of stuff. So the reason that it's homework for me, Schlong, is because Kate said it was maybe the best, worst movie Lindsay Lohan's been in. I think that was sort of what we netted out. My response to Kate was, have you ever seen The Canyon? And The Canyon was a Lindsay Lohan Lilo, as the
The
kids say.
Lilo vehicle.
It's a Lilo vehicle. And it starred adult film star James Dean, but it's not a porn movie. It's a regular movie. It is not well acted, but you have to see it. So Kate and I, Schlong, made the agreement. Kate's going to watch The Canyon, and I am going to watch Falling for Christmas. I just haven't had the time yet.
And then we'll compare notes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to watch It's Always Sunny Christmas.
Boo!
No fun.
Watch something bad. Watch something
I watch
bad.
a lot of things bad. I'm just not going to watch the bad things you watch.
Ooh, Rob
Rude.
Humphrey said he saw Violent Night the other day, and it's pretty awesome. That is on my list. I do want to see
Listen.
that.
I watch Santa Claus the movie with John Lithgow every Christmas.
It's John Lithgow.
Whatever. It's Gow to me. Every Christmas. It is
It's Gow.
notoriously awful.
It is terrible.
I have to watch Santa with muscles, so I think I win.
I've watched that, notoriously bad. But I will argue that Ernest Saves Christmas is a classic Christmas movie.
Amazing.
It's on Disney Plus now.
Yes.
Wait, it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
All
wouldn't
the
lie
Ernest
about
ones
that.
are.
Not Ernest Scared Stupid.
No,
Well,
but
I
the
own
Hall-
both,
the
so it
Halloween
really
one
doesn't matter.
was.
Ernest,
Halloween
Ernest Scared
one was.
Stupid.
I didn't see Ernest Scared Stupid on Disney Plus.
I mean, I own them, so we'll see.
I'll say this. I haven't seen so Violent Night. I want to see that. That looks hilarious to me.
Scary.
But I also have to see. Do you guys know about Fat Man?
No.
That was
Is that
last.
the Mel Gibson one?
There you go, Schlong. That was,
Where
I
he's
think, last
Santa Claus
year's-
being hunted by a by a hitman?
Yes, Kate. Here's the abbreviated spark notes for that one. A Mel Gibson vehicle. So clearly, it's not meant for Jewish people. But
I was gonna say, is the hitman Jewish?
must be. But basically, Christmas is no longer like a thing. Like people, it's not that it's no longer a thing, but it's no longer a viable option for Santa. 'Cause
They've
people
lost
don't
their
care about
Christmas spirit.
Right. So Santa decides to turn his workshop into a weapons facility, and he has an agreement with the U.S. Armed services to build weapons. Well, some kid gets pissed off at Santa and vows revenge. He hires a bounty hunter to hunt and kill Santa. It becomes a game of cat and mouse.
So Santa meets
Wacky
the most
hijinks
dangerous
ensue.
game.
What was that, Kate?
So Christmas meets the most dangerous game, basically.
Yes.
I'm into it.
It is currently streaming on the Cock. So if you have the Cock, it is there. Asian Joe looking forward to a very merry Mark Order podcast episode the Wednesday before Christmas.
Well, Aunt. Will you even be here for it?
Yes, I won't be at the final podcast
Oh,
of
okay.
the year.
Well, good.
Who
I think
knows? Maybe
I think on
Santa
the
makes an
28th I
appearance.
won't be here. Oh, maybe Santa shows up, Kate. Did you hear that?
As long as Santa and the captain don't overlap. I don't need Santa
Oh, God, no.
bastardized for me like that. That would be terrible.
That was not being considered, but who knows now?
It'll be a very
you
special night.
Talking about they don't even know.
Well, I mean, I
each
could
other.
I could talk to them. I could write a letter to Santa that saying the only thing I want for Christmas
No.
is for you to interact with the captain.
I've been a very good girl. That would never happen to me.
Now, Schlong, I'm sorry to do this to you, Kate. Schlong, you have to hear the Midwest accent, upstate New York thing going on with Kate right now.
100%.
Really?
You don't even call attention to it? She calls you out for every
I can't
food,
mimic it. If I
home.
could mimic it, I would.
There was another word. I shot you a look, Schlong.
Gross.
Did you hear this? And then she said, happen.
Yeah, I didn't hear it on the first one. I heard it on the happen. But the problem I have is I can't mimic the accent, so I can't make fun of her the way I want to. I needed you to do it.
There is also...
Don't you know?
Oh,
That's
don't
a
you
little-
know.
More Minnesota.
It was
that
Bobby's
is-
World, really.
That is Bobby's World. That was a very Minnesota accent. I don't know why. Because we're talking about accents and stuff. Have you guys seen this thing? Well, not this thing. Have you heard? It's being used a lot on TikTok. I don't know.
Have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
I don't know who sings the song. I'll have to find it maybe in the break. But it's a Christmas song. And whoever
Christmas shoes?
What? No. It's like a well-known Christmas song. Somebody just doing their version of it. A young lady, I can't remember who. This is a terrible story, but I'll find it during our break.
I don't know the song. I don't know the lady, so I can't really tell you much, but okay.
But she says Christmas like Christmas.
Oh, like that,
right-
like weird indie singer thing of like the Christmas, like that
It's-
whole weird.
But it's not even indie. This is some well-known person. I was like, you can do a second take. You don't have to go with the first one. Like, it's very weird, but it's living on TikTok. Like, everybody's using it.
All the kids,
All the kids, all the bays.
all the bays and the BBs.
Yeah. So
They-
Kyle K. Sparks like Carol Channing. Sort of. I get that reference, Kyle K. Sparks. I don't know if anybody else does.
Do you know
do.
why I get that reference?
Why is that?
Not from Carol Channing herself,
SNL.
but from Whose Line Is It Anyway? Ryan Stiles.
Oh, there you go.
Well, we do have Asian Joe also says Santa Schlong. The Santa whose lap you definitely don't want to sit on.
Oh, that's the best. Asian Joe's the best.
Agreed, Asian Joe.
Asian Joe is the best, and it was great that we got in 2022. We got to meet him face to face.
did.
Schlong was too good to show up, so it was very nice that we went.
Per usual.
I mean,
I'm cooler than you, and you know it.
Big
Oh,
timer.
boy. So, guys, did anybody see Rampage last week?
Sure did.
Well, Schlong is looking back and forth.
I did, and I can't remember any of it.
All right, let's touch on it real
Not
quick.
that memorable.
It wasn't that memorable until the end.
Yes, the end was cool.
Darby Allin defeated Cole Carter.
Shocker.
So that was like goth heroin chic versus heroin chic, I guess. They're both skinny boys. It was what it was. I thought it was a fine match. Cole Carter just does nothing for me.
Yeah, and they haven't given you a reason to buy into him yet. But I did like Darby's promo that came later. That was cool because it was not a Darby avant-garde. It was him and the camera.
Yeah, that's why I didn't like it.
Cool. Yeah, you need a full film.
Kate, you're bearing the lead. Schlong said he didn't like something.
Yeah, I need Darby to have at least 3 body bags, maybe a fire, a car, and some other things I don't quite understand.
This is why it wasn't the lead. It's because he's being sarcastic about it. So even when he says he doesn't like something, it's because he actually liked it.
I don't like that attitude, Kate.
I see you over there.
I genuinely don't like that attitude, Kate.
Ooh.
Well, tough shit. I'm full of it.
You're full of tough shit?
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts of Rampage, Kate, I'm sure you like this as much as I did. After that match, they went backstage with Keith Lee and Renee Paquette. And we had Shane Taylor show up.
Yeah, we did.
Was really, really cool. And he challenged Swerve and Our Glory to a tag team match against Shane Taylor and JD Griffey at Final Battle. So we're going to get that at Final Battle. That was a surprise. I was very happy to see Shane Taylor on television.
Very happy to see Shane Taylor on television. And I just assumed it would have been a trios thing or like a 6-man thing. I think playing off the history with Keith Lee is awesome. That's such a nice play. Very happy to see him. And I also liked what he said, like, hey, you've got a habit of just leaving your tag partners out in the dust, because when Keith Lee left for WWE, that's essentially what he did to him. So I really liked that. That was good.
Schlong, are you excited for Shane Taylor?
Very excited for Shane Taylor. Super excited for Swerve's shit-eating grin when Keith Lee turned him like, I have to rely on you. And he's just like...
Yeah, that was fantastic.
That was a great moment.
So that was a lot of fun. Let's see. We had a recap with Roosh and LFI about Preston Vance turning on the Dark Order. The Acclaimed make an entrance, and that's sort of what sets up tonight, right? They were coming out to say, who's going to get a shot at the titles. We had Kate's favorite tag team in all of professional wrestling, the Gun Club, come out. And basically,
boys burner.
Not even my least favorite tag team in this segment, though. But go ahead.
The Gun Club came out and said that they're the best tag team in the world. And then Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, Satnam Singh, and Sanjay Dutt came out and said that they're the best tag team. And then Daddy Ass basically said, it's none of you. And that's when FTR comes out, and that's when we get the challenge for FTR against the Acclaimed, our main event for tonight, which we're going to talk about when we get to Dynamite. But, man, a lot of things in the hopper for the Acclaimed, huh? So we had FTR tonight, and it looks like clearly there's something going on with the Gun Club, Kate's favorite tag team, and then Kate's second favorite tag team, Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. So there's a lot going on.
People accuse me of intentionally going to the bathroom during women's matches, and they put this shit on my television.
And you sit and watch the whole thing.
I do.
You love it.
Oh my god. Did not need Jeff Jarrett being like a key part of a pin. But at least the lethal injection kind of made sense in this one. Could not have cared less about this match. Not one bit. Not even a little.
They did come out because they did have their match against Private Party. So Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal defeated Private Party. Good to see Private Party on television, and good to see them working with a legend like Jeff Jarrett.
Half of that is true.
It's all true.
It's
Schlong, I don't know why she hates Jeff Jarrett so much.
Because he's not a legend. He's just consistently worked for a really long time. This is the best tag team division in the world.
Yeah, because of Jeff
She's
Jarrett.
calling him he's the Cal Ripken of
he's the Iron
wrestling.
Man. They should call he's not the
He's
last
just more of a
outlaw.
legend because he's
the
been
Iron
around.
Man. Yeah.
Cal Ripken
That was actually a
revelized
shot.
the position, at least. Jeff Jarrett, like, you have the best tag division in the world, and you're putting them on my television, and Miro has not been pitched creative. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Like,
Well, listen, I still stand by sort of what happened with Miro as maybe the story of what's going on. Maybe we'll find out that's not the truth. I think Miro got sort of fucked by the Elite getting kicked off TV and all the House of Black stuff going on because he was involved with all of that. But Kyle K. Sparks says the Gun Club aren't honestly that bad, but they're still not ready for this level of exposure. It doesn't feel earned. And he adds, if there is one Jeff Jarrett match ever that I would want to rewatch, it's versus Shawn Michaels in July of 1995 at an In Your House.
right. If you have to use Shawn Michaels, that is the highest form of cheating. I'm sorry. Like, if you're like, but Tyrus had a great match with Bryan Danielson. Well, yeah, of course he did, because it's Bryan freaking Danielson. Like, that's just cheating. But honestly, it did serve a greater purpose. I just feel like there's better ways to get there. And as far as the Gun Club goes, I'm not excited to see them on my television. They're usually used to serve the purpose of a story in the correct way. Like, I will say that. Like, I'm not that excited to see them. There's nothing wrong with them being on my television. There's just so many people I would rather see, but they're usually used to, like, take losses, advance storylines that are pushing other people up the card. Like, I would have a bigger problem if it was like they were constantly hanging around the titles. Like, if you just need someone that are reliable workers to eat pins and stuff, like, I understand that, but, like, you just got Top Flight back. Like, there's so many fantastic tag teams I'd rather see. So it's more a matter of that. But even this, while I thought it was a stupid use of television time, like, it made sense to do what it needed to do.
So I mostly agree with what you said. The only problem I have, not even a problem, it's actually a problem AEW has, is while I agree they have a lot of good teams, what's a heel team that you really don't mind taking all these losses? Like, Top Flight isn't heel.
I
The
mean, I
Gun
think
Club are
Iron
Gun Club really
Savages.
should have rest. Well, yeah, they're too big. Like you need the Gun Club would have been better in this match than Jeff Jarrett and
That would have been. I would have had way less
yeah,
of a problem with that.
because they're young. It's two young teams. Like even if you don't like the Gun Club, at least it's two young teams getting shots. I'm my opinion on Jeff Jarrett was, and that it's been that if he only had his match against Sting and that was it, I would have been plenty okay with what happened. I don't need him to be a regular. I'd be more okay, quite honestly, if they gave him a young kid who can't talk and made him like the manager. But I don't need him in the ring. I don't need him overshadowing, his talent, because he still very much look at me. I'm Jeff Jarrett. And it's like, I don't want to look at you.
I mean, I just feel that he's with Jay Lethal because they worked, Ric Flair stuff. They're at least familiar working together, right?
The
I don't think
logic
it's a
of
long
those two together makes sense.
sure, and I don't
The
think it's a
logic
long
of that on my TV, yeah.
Yeah, no, and I don't think it's a long term. I truly still they're longer than one match, clearly, but I still don't think it's a long term thing. I think it's just a quick splash. Eventually, it'll die off. You know, again, I think it's sort of like we got to get Ring of Honor on television, right?
Big
Because
time.
like
It's big time that.
I think that Jay Lethal, he's built for Ring of Honor. He came from Ring of Honor, and I think him, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh could do some cool stuff in Ring of Honor. I think we're just sort of hanging out until that happens. And then as far as the Gun Club goes, listen, I think we've sort of talked about this as far as like MJF becoming the new champion is sort of like everybody else has to get pushed up now, right? And I think it's the same thing with the tag titles at this point in time. At some point, will they go back to FTR? No doubt. I don't have any doubts that FTR will win those tag team titles again at some point. Not right now because FTR is way over and they're doing a great job. But I think we're going to have to see the same thing in the tag division, right? I think you're going to have to see teams like Top Flight, maybe Private Party, even though they've been hanging out for a while. Private Party sort of got to take the next step up. Gun Club is part of that, right? They're just the next wave of sort of these tag teams. So, while I agree they're not really, there yet, and this hasn't felt earned, they're trying to get them involved. You can't fault them for that, right? Getting different talent in front of the camera. It's just they got to figure out a better way to do it and make it feel, a little more natural.
By the way, I just watched Kate's internet go from good to shit to good in like a 20-second span. It was kind of funny.
I saw the same thing.
Optimum, baby.
All right, let's see. So Saraya did an interview. She says she wants the title. Everybody's on notice. That's fine. Athena defeated Danny Moe.
Via murder.
She didn't want no Mo.
Boy.
Via a murder.
It was.
There's been a murder.
But the big story is that after the match, after the bell, she continues to basically kick Danny Moe's ass. And officials come down to keep Athena from doing damage, but she basically runs through all the officials. She's just sort of on a warpath right now, right? We're getting to her match at the pay-per-view against Mercedes Martinez for the Ring of Honor Women's World title. So just a totally different Athena, being more aggressive. Didn't hate this. We're just trying to see the progression of her character. And this should be a good
I love
match
that they leaned into a shitty take that people had about Athena. And they're like, you know what? Her character needed something anyway. Let's fucking use it. And it's been fantastic. She's been great on the Dark Elevation. She was great here. I'm going to enjoy the match against Mercedes Martinez. This has been great for her. So.
And they don't have a heel like her, is what I've kept saying. Like, they don't have a heel that's doing what she's doing at all. Like, Britt and Jade are very different, like, types of heels. Like, she could really, really, really make a name for herself in this niche. And yeah, her and Mercedes are going to tear it down.
Yeah, it'll be great. And I agree. I like what we're seeing out of Athena. She definitely needed something a little different, and this is different. So I like it. We also had after this Juice Robinson challenging Samoa Joe to a Ring of Honor TV title match at Final Battle. So we have that match lined up for the pay-per-view Saturday. And something that was interesting is that commentary, I think, made mention specifically of Juice Robinson being all elite. So I guess the juice is no longer loose. He is signed to AEW. So we'll see what happens. Kate, I'd like a woman's take on this, because Mrs. Money says Juice Robinson is unfortunate looking and definitely does not deserve Tony Storm. What's your take?
I feel like there's not a lot of guys out there that do deserve Tony Storm. So, like,
You're looking at him.
is it pass fail, or are we rating the gap? You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Excuse me.
I got in on that one, by the way.
You
It was
did.
good. I saw it coming. It was telegraphed.
So
You
Kate,
know me too well. That's where I go.
I don't think we're rating the gap. I think it's just, you're.
If it's this, it's this. But I would say like 90% of men probably fall in the not on Tony Storm.
If it's this, it's this. We're an audio medium.
If it's
Thumbs up.
good
Okay.
or bad,
If it's two up or
pass,
two down.
fail, like
Well,
fail.
okay, so
But I would say
you think
most
it's a
men
fail. You think it's a
Wait, I have
fail. He doesn't. Tony Storm can do better than the.
Wait, I have a unique scale. I
Okay,
want
boy.
I have a unique quiz for Kate. No, it's not. It's not as. I know what you're thinking. I'm like, weird. It's not. A lot of guys way outkick their coverage. I do a podcast with two of them. So, in terms of guys who outkick their coverage, do we think he outkicked it so far that it's still a fail, or does he now fall in that realm where it's like, okay, I can see this guy getting her, knowing it's an outkick?
No. She's on a different field.
Okay, that's.
But like most guys are.
What's your
She's
take on Juice himself? She is. What's your take on Juice himself, Kate? Miss Money thinks he's unfortunate looking.
That's
like I would say like mid maybe.
I think his facial features are too close together.
He has, you know how Braun Strowman has a tiny face?
Yes,
He
big
kinda
head,
has,
tiny face.
Yeah. He's got a
Same
Braun
thing.
Strowman face. Yeah.
His eyes are too close together and too close to his nose, and then his mouth is too close to his nose as well. It's all very compact in this little area.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm with you on that.
Just asking for your take. Then we had our interview before the main event, and then we got our Darby Allin promo that Kate was talking about, where he wanted his TNT championship back, and he challenged Samoa Joe for a title shot on tonight's Dynamite. And it was said Sting and Wardlow would be banned from ringside. So we lined that up for tonight. Schlong is laughing. What happened?
I looked them up.
You didn't know what Juice looked like? The Juice is loose.
But I never considered the tiny face thing before.
Tiny face. Yeah.
So
Now you can't unsee it now that you saw it.
No, that's what I'm saying. I looked him up for that feature, and there's a picture and just how big his forehead is, and then everything else is compact.
It really is just sort of.
I didn't notice it about Braun Strowman, and then someone pointed it out to me, and now that's all I can think about in his big dumb red pants. He's got a tiny face proportion to the rest of his head.
And the weird thing is, I feel like when Juice had his shorter hair, it wasn't that noticeable. But when he's got the long hair for some reason,
the sight line just expands.
It really just, calls attention to like this unfortunate close together face. He's got a lot of region above the forehead. It's a 5 head at this point.
Yeah,
see, I have a 5 head, but I have bangs.
Well, that's, he could have bangs. He doesn't.
He needs a framing, like a framing on the side of his face that would help.
No, the framing is what I think has done him in, because now you can see how short it's framed.
No, but like layers that cover up your forehead.
Layers.
So we had that match lined up, and then we got into the main event, right? So main event was Orange Cassidy against QT Marshall for the All-Atlantic Championship. It was a lumberjack match. I did appreciate the best friends being dressed up as lumberjacks. That was fun. Orange Cassidy defeated QT Marshall, so no surprise there. After the match, Orange Cassidy and Kip Sabian brawl to the back, so they have an issue. And all the Lumberjacks are brawling with each other around the ring, and that's when the lights go out, and the House of Black is there when the lights come back, and they basically destroy every remaining person, and the show goes off the air. So, House of Black is back. Right now they're running roughshod over everybody, and they're putting people on blast. They had a promo tonight. We'll talk about that when we get to Dynamite. But I liked that part of sort of how to close things out because, they need to reassert their dominance over, everybody. So, listen, I love the House of Black. I think all those guys are super talented. I liked what they were doing before they all, they decided to take a break. Now that they're back and sort of refocused, I think this is good. So I'm interested to see where this is going. Also, I like Kip Sabian and QT Marshall. I like Kip Sabian and Orange Cassidy because those guys can have really fun match. We'll talk about that as we get into Dynamite tonight too. But I didn't have a problem with the main event. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. Ryan said this before, and I agree. I think people underestimate how good QT Marshall is at his job. Like, he gets crowd reactions really, really well. I hate lumberjack matches. I hate them so much. Danhausen dressed in flannel with his Dan Hatchet was really fun before they took the weapons away. And I did like that Kip Sabian kind of like pushed Orange Cassidy back into the ring when he didn't need to be. Like, what? I was just doing my lumberjack job, even though he pushed him off the top rope. I thought that was clever. So I just don't like lumberjack matches, but AEW has done a couple pretty well. As far as like from a logical standpoint, because you kind of have to reverse the logic of a lumberjack match the entire time. So I thought that was good. House of Black attacking him was good. And I just really like Orange Cassidy defending so much. The more we get to see him in the ring, the more it feels like a character, not a gimmick. And I just think that's a really healthy thing for the development of best friends and Orange Cassidy on screen. So loved it. Thought that part was good. It was a decent enough Rampage. It was just exactly decent. Like, other than House of Black and Shane Taylor, like, this was not anything to write home about, but there was nothing wrong with it per se.
Boy, I don't want to know your opinion on Lumberjill matches if you go to the bathroom anyway during the women's matches and you
I
hate
love them.
Lumberjack. What?
I love them because I can go to the bathroom and not have to worry about like getting back for anything. You know what I mean?
Good point. Like, I get it. Schlong, anything you want to add about what went down at the end of the show?
I like that they're setting up the House of Black to have two feuds. You have the best friends, and they targeted Brandon Cutler afterwards. So they're very clearly setting up an elite thing as well. But you can do the best friends while you wait on the elite defense. Like, it's a good use of these attacks to set up multiple things at once. And Orange Cassidy is awesome, and I'm glad people are finally acknowledging that he is in fact awesome.
I will say this to Kate's point about you talking about QT Marshall. I know we've been to a number of live AEW events. I've been to a few more than you guys because we went to a couple of those Rampages.
You got listed, we know. Okay.
For one Dynamite, but I bought tickets to the Rampages that I went to. I'll say this. Next time you go to a live event, if QT Marshall is involved in any way, if he comes out, if he wrestles, if he's just ringside, just pay attention the whole time he's out there, because he is like literally arguing with fans. And even one time when we saw him, when they were walking back after the match, he stopped as they were walking back to argue with somebody in the crowd. Like, he was past them, he stopped, he walked back, was jawing at them and arguing with them, and then as he was walking away was still like yelling and arguing with them. Fantastic. Just, he's a lot of fun. I know he gets the QT sucks stuff, and that's his job, right? So
100%
does a good job. Welp, we've gotten through the first hour, minimal wrestling talk, but we're really going to kick it up an hour too. All right, Schlong says we're not, so we'll keep it to a minimum an hour two. But why don't we take a short break, so that we can rehydrate. Schlong's going to take a couple of those Absolute bottles behind him and pour himself a nice drink. He might not even pour a drink. Kate's right. He might just, raw dog it straight with those bottles.
That's right.
So we're going to take a little break. We're going to play some words from some of the other shows that are part of
Play that funky music, white boy.
Shining Wizards Network. Boy, he just steamrolls, Kate, huh? It was very nice when it was just
it was so nice last week.
Man. But Kate, you also missed this in the first hour. Schlong and I were talking it out. We'll have a post podcast business meeting. And then Matt's proxy will vote, I guess, in some way. But we were saying we may the network till 2023 to have that on our books in 2023 for a new tax year.
Good thinking.
But we still have to spend the budget now, or else we lose it for next year.
That's a really good point.
So we're thinking about throwing an expensed holiday party. Schlong suggested just going to Matt's house and using the money on hookers and blow.
Perfect.
So it's a possibility, but we'll talk about it afterwards. So for now, for the foreseeable future, there is the Shining Wizards Network, and here are some of the other shows that are part of it. Some we're proud to call partners, some not so much. You decide. We'll be right back.
Everyone knows a lot of things can change in the span of 10 years, but when it comes to professional wrestling podcasting, one thing is still guaranteed. The Shining Wizards is the only place to get all the latest wrestling news, interviews with the greatest guests, and of course, tons of laughs in discussing the world of wrestling. The show is still available on Monday nights at 7 p.m. East on rantdmradio.com and Rant Entertainment Media on the TuneIn app, and it's still available on all podcasting platforms. To check us out, head over to shiningwizards.com, where it's still wrestling talk and talk about wrestling.
Because of the obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens, and because of the crisis which is even now developing, this radio station will remain on the air day and night. This station and hundreds of other radio and TV stations throughout this part of the country are pooling their resources through an emergency network hookup to keep you informed of all developments.
Horns up, everyone. One on the Shining Wizards Network. Be sure every Friday to check out Radioactive Metal. Radioactive Metal is one of the longest running podcasts on the interweb. And every week we bring you a fist full of metal, including interviews with all your favorite artists, discuss all the metal news, and feature the best tunes on the air today. So grab a Lemmy, join your cool Uncle Snowy and co-host Aaron in the pit.
Your recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment broadcasting from the current to the way back. Join the impact player Phil Brea and the Portuguese man of war Choppy for the Turnbuckle Throwbacks Wrestling Podcast. Live every week on rantemradio.com. Get all our episodes over at iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Audio Boom, Google Play, ShiningWizardsNetwork.com, and TurnbuckleThrowbacks.com.
Are you tired of being told what to think and believe by Hollywood elites and politicians who just don't care about you?
Tired of not getting the truth when you watch the news?
Tired of trying to figure out what pronoun to use?
Tired of mob mentality when all you want to do is think for yourself and make up your own mind?
That's where we come in. This is Justin
and Vince,
your hosts of Inconclusive Breakdown.
We are a weekly anti-PC podcast bringing you entertainment and current event news without any spin.
If you want to truly stay informed on what's going on in the world, then give us a listen every Sunday, anywhere you get podcasts, at least till Zuckerberg and Twitter Jack deplatform us.
And as always, we're proud members of the Shining Wizards Network.
Tired of the PC police telling you what you can and cannot say? Want a show that travels back to the 80s and 90s, where the badass hosts have beaten down cancel culture on 3 separate occasions and carried on to gloat about it? Since 2013, The Midnight Jury is that show. Travel back to the malls and arcades, pop in your VHS, and join us where the 80s and 90s return from the dead. Conan, tell them where to find us.
WLWstudios.com, home of the Midnight Jury podcast hosted by Midnight Mike and Calvin Brody.
Also available on all major podcast platforms via the Shining Wizards Network, and join in the conversation on Twitter at Midnight Jury.
What's up, wrestling fans? You want something awesome? Check out Wrestling Night in Canada here on the Shining Wizards Network. We're 3 Canadian metalheads uniting for the love of pro wrestling. Every episode we go over all the latest news and special events with the odd unique interview as well. So grab a cold one and check out Wrestling Night in Canada, eh?
All right, we're back here on the Mark Order podcast. So before we get into Dynamite, a couple things. Make sure you're following us on our socials. Thank you to, we've had some new subscribers on our YouTube channel. Thank you for all those who subscribed. A couple people I saw giving some likes to stuff. So thank you for that. And if you want to find any of our social channels, you can look us up at Mark Order Pod on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, all those sorts of places. And if you're connected on one of our platforms, just hit the link tree. There's links to all of those. But most importantly, the first button is to request some free stickers. So make sure, and I think I got another request this week that I'll be sending out on Friday. But make sure you click the button. Give us your full name, your mailing address, and the country you live in so we can make sure that we're sending out stickers to the right place. As long as you do that, I'll send you out some free Mark Order Podcast stickers. We'll take care of everything for you. You just let us know where to send them.
Yeehaw!
The other thing, guys, to note before we get into Dynamite, we've been talking obviously about Ring of Honor Final Battle a bunch tonight. We're going to run down the card at the end of the show. We don't want to give away to those maybe who didn't see the show something they announced at the end. But we're going to run through the card later. But be sure to tune in after the pay-per-view Saturday night. We're going to be doing a bonus show, post-show recap for Ring of Honor's Final Battle 2022. And we're going to have myself, Ryan Schlong, and we're going to have a very special guest, friend of the shoe,
Captain. Oh,
Kyle K. Sparks.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm going to
Kyle
put Kyle in his place and really tell him what about all the history of ROH, because he doesn't know it like I do.
Oh, shit. I can't wait to moderate that debate. So again, tune in Saturday night. The pay-per-view's at 4 p.m. Eastern. They're doing that to avoid, I think, like a UFC or something else that's going on. Who the fuck knows?
NXT has a show later that night.
Whatever. I honestly think there's a UFC or something or a fight happening that night. But either way, 4:00 start to the pay-per-view in the East. I love it because then I'm done at like 7:00. And then join us 15 minutes after the pay-per-view ends. So we're thinking it's going to end around 7:15. Hop onto YouTube.
7:30, 7:45. We'll figure it out.
15 minutes after it ends, we'll be on the air. So come check it out. Chat along with us live. Say hello to Kyle K. Sparks. And have some fun on a Saturday night before maybe you go out. Maybe you're going out on a little date. Well, listen to some Mark Order Podcast Ring of Honor recap.
The sexy tunes of Ryan will get you going for your date.
Boom. That's what I was just going to say. Really get you going. Get those juices flowing.
Was Matthew McConaughey just on the podcast for a second? That was like the captain and Matthew McConaughey together. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, he's doing the thing from the movie.
Oh no.
All right, Ant. Before we get into, I know we got to talk Dynamite, and normally
we're gonna talk Dynamite. Just so you know, we're gonna talk Dynamite. We're gonna cover the Ring of Honor card. We've got some news and notes on Dustin Rhodes, Thunder Rosa, some Renee news, some Athena news, and some news about William Regal.
Okay, so here's the thing, though. I think we need to move 2 pieces of news before Dynamite, because most of my theories on Dynamite will then relate to those 2 pieces of news.
Just
Well,
by
not
now
even
people are
theories.
talking about it.
Well, I'm just saying the Regal one we should just, and also the ROH one, because it all came from the phone call today.
The phone call
Fuck you both.
today.
That was an intense one.
I knew it as I was saying it, and I couldn't stop it.
Yeah, so the Regal news that we'll talk about, I don't think we need to discuss it as we go through the show. We can tie it together, but the Regal news is really just about why, what really happened.
Yeah, Regal less. We just know he's gone. Like, that is
right.
No debate now.
And how did we even bury that news? That was like huge news over the weekend. That he's out of the company.
For a very good reason. I thought there was all this rumors. Oh, because one wrestler lied. Oh, he hates it, and then you come to find out it's like, no, he wants to be where his son is, and it's like, oh, that's very respectable. Like,
yeah, it's also fortunate timing, if you ask me. I don't know.
Well, his contract was up, and AEW didn't pick up the option.
No, it doesn't sound like his contract was up.
No, it is. We'll talk about it. We'll get there later. I don't want to get bogged down.
They got special considerations, but we have to talk about the ROH thing ahead of time, because it determines a lot of where I think they're going with the storylines.
What are you talking about? The match announcement at the end?
No, Tony said in the phone call 2 things. One, they're going to address the TV after at the end of the after the pay-per-view's over Saturday.
Yeah,
and you're not going to see ROH. You're not. No.
He said
he
would
address it after the pay-per-view, but he specified it'll be Saturday night. Like, we're gonna see the pay-per-view, and then we'll know the information on what they're doing with TV. And then he said, do not expect to see a lot of the ROH the ROH stuff on AEW going forward. Like, they're gonna kick that back.
Yeah, because they'll have some sort of TV
But
show.
we should address that. That's going to address where some of these storylines are going, is the fact that we now know that they got something in line to not have ROH be a prominent role on AEW TV.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I mean, that wasn't even part of the news and notes, because I think he basically said it a couple weeks ago somewhere, busted open or something, like, we're going to talk about, we're going to announce something with TV after.
He had said it generically, like, after the paper, like, once we're through the pay-per-view, we'll talk about it. Now he specifically said, like, Saturday, I'll tell you. And now he specifically said, oh yeah, by the way, don't expect to see much of ROH going on our AEW TV going forward.
That's fine. I don't
Thank
know.
God.
Whoa. Haters gonna hate.
It's just because there's so many damn titles. They'll do Battle of the Belts and it'll have less titles on it than an average episode of Dynamite. Like, it's just been so oversaturated. But yeah, no, those are good things, and I'm excited about it.
Well, let's go through Dynamite. And they lead off with the Dynamite Diamond Ring Battle Royal. Now, for some stupid reason, I thought this was a ladder match, but it was a battle royal, which is just fine. We had a number of people involved in this match, a lot of sort of ongoing stories, so it was a nice way to sort of bake it all into one match. Absolute Ricky Starks, Jungle Boy Jack Perry, and the Natural Dustin Rhodes got individual entrances, but we also had Kip Sabian involved in this match, the Butcher, Sean Dean, Brian Cage, All Ego Ethan Page, Matt Hardy. I'm sure I'm leaving somebody else out, but there were a lot of people. Oh, Dalton Castle. How could I forget about Dalton Castle? So a lot of people involved in this. I thought it was a pretty nice field. Let's just get to the end, because there was a lot of stuff that happened during the match. You can kind of call out things you liked and didn't like. Comes out on top, winning by eliminating All Ego Ethan Page to get the challenge to get the right to challenge MJF for the Dynamite Diamond Ring at any time of his choosing. Okay, I want to make sure I note that here. And then they go into a promo, but let's sort of stop there so then we can dissect these two things separately. But here's the interesting thing, and this is sort of maybe jumping ahead a little bit, but Ricky Starks wins this shot at the ring. Okay, no problem with Ricky Starks winning. I think maybe they could have done somebody like Ethan Page. I feel like the ring is a good thing for a heel to have, right? So I thought maybe like, oh, they're going to give it to Ethan Page because he had an issue with MJF anyway, right? And Starks already has a title shot. We don't need him to have two things, right? But they gave it to Starks, and that's fine. Because I like Ricky Starks, I would have been happy either way. Here's what interests me, is that later on at the end of the show, when they are recapping sort of what's coming next week, and the promo next talks about, MJF's match with Ricky at Winter is coming for the title. In that preview for next week, they said that it's an all or nothing match. The match next week will now be for the title and the Dynamite Diamond Ring. I just don't understand the logic of that. Why wouldn't they try to sort of do it separately? Not even like, if you're going to give it to Ricky Starks, I guess this makes sense, right? But why not sell this twice, right? Have Ricky Starks fight for the title next week, and then maybe at the first show of the year, have Ethan Page win that, this battle royal, and now he challenges for the diamond ring at the first match, Dynamite of the year. Like, it just seemed weird to me that they would do that.
Yeah, because you're essentially giving a title shot to someone who has the title, which makes no sense. And I think we all know who's going to win, but even Ricky Starks winning it telegraphs it so far out. So that makes no sense. I would have just had Wardlow win it, because I feel like he, as a face, would have been someone that was so fun to run around with it. Like, he and MJF should kind of be nemesis forever, right? Like, him having it but choosing not to use it and doing like MJF antics would be awesome. Like, just little notes of that getting thrown in. I don't mind Starks winning it, but I agree. It just, there's no logical reason Starks would put that up on the line, because he already had a title shot. So why wouldn't you put that in your back pocket in case you lose for a title shot? I get what they're trying to do here. But I agree with you. Like, it's the transference piece of it that I don't like, not Ricky Starks not having it. Because there's fun shit you could do as a face with it.
Oh, of course.
I just feel like that's a very convoluted way to go about things. You could have just had MJF be in the match. You could have, I would have had Wardlow have it, because he's the one that cost MJF against Punk with it. He's, there's so many fun things that you could have a whole thing about how he had to get it resized because he has big ass hands and Max has little ones. Like, there's so much shit that you could have done there. But I agree. I didn't love that idea. I thought the match was really well orchestrated, though. They're pretty good overall at using battle royals to advance other stories, even when the winners are kind of obvious, or you kind of know who it's going to come down to. Like, they're really good at advancing that. I believe it was Jesse Ozog mentioned that you thought it was a ladder match because last year this was a ladder match. It's just not automatically a ladder match every year, but they're good at it with ladder matches too, where usually they do a good job of avoiding it being a spot fest all the time, and they use it to build out stories, which tournaments, battle royals, that's how they should be used. And we saw a lot of that here, but love Ethan Page and Starks continuing to kind of be at each other's throats a little bit. I think that'll be really good. I just don't like how telegraphed it is and the way that they're going about putting this back in MJF's hands.
I will say this, Schlong, I want your take too, but there was a moment in time that I was like, holy fuck, they're going to let the captain Sean Dean win this. And that's how MJF gets his win over Sean Dean. Because don't forget, Sean Dean, 2 wins over MJF in the same calendar year.
But yeah, I tweet about it every 10 minutes. It's like my favorite thing in the world.
I really thought like, oh my God, maybe they're going to give this to Sean Dean.
That would be really, really fun. There was a part of me that was like, they don't hot potato it, right? You don't have Starks win and then MJF lose his mind and win the ring back or something like, but I don't think you can.
Nope. Schlong, what'd you think of the match?
The match was fine. I like battle royals when they're not overcrowded and you only have a few people. I have a fear. My fear is we're going to see
dreams too.
No,
just fear.
Long ago.
That's sad.
I'm a sad man. My fear is that we're going to get some WWE style booking. And what I mean by that is pretty simple. We're going to have a Ricky Starks MJF match, and Ricky Starks is going to win by disqualification, giving him the ring but not the belt.
I can see that.
I don't
I have
know.
that fear.
Go ahead, Kate. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I could see that, but I also don't think you want MJF's first title defense to be DQ. And I also think they probably want to run back Starks and MJF, but I think you want to get the Danielson feud under the way, assuming that's where we're going to be at Revolution. But
I agree. I'm just saying it feels like that's something that you could do. You keep the belt on MJF, but you give the ring to Starks because you couldn't have MJF take a straight up loss to get rid of the ring. While he has that belt, he couldn't lose to anyone, which is why not getting the ring off of him before this didn't make any sense. Like they should have said, "Listen, you gave the ring up when you walked out. It's no longer yours. It's done." But by not taking the ring off of him, you've now put yourself in a corner where he has to lose the ring. But if he has the belt, well, then you've just had your champion lose.
I don't think they're going to do that because they've generally not done stuff like that. And also, there have been times where you're like, "Oh God, they're going to do it," and then they don't do it, right? Like they've done that a couple of times with different stuff where it's like, "Oh no, they're going full E on us." Like, they have a birthday segment with a cake on a table, and you're like, "Oh no, this is the moment where it breaks out into a food fight," and it ultimately doesn't happen, right? Like it happened. There was, I think, one time I remember they put a cake in somebody's face, and it was Mark Sterling. It was Swerve in Our Glory, and they were fighting with Mark Sterling, and they somehow put a cake in his face. There were a couple other times where I'm like, "Oh my God, they're going to do something like that." And I hate that shit, and they don't do it. They haven't generally done it with matches. I think MJF wins this match, clean or not. He's going to win this match. There's not going to be a DQ. And this will just make him even more insufferable. Because now not only do we hear about him having the belt, but he's a 4-time Dynamite Diamond Ring winner 4 years in a row.
I don't feel like that makes him more insufferable. I think it makes Ricky Starks look like a fucking idiot. So
I think it makes the ring look worthless.
I just think if you're going to move the ring, he can't take a loss, but they're not going to do a DQ because I'm with Kate. You can't have his first defense end in a disqualification. He's not been disqualified for any of the other bullshit he's pulled. So now that he's got the belt, they're going to do that to him. I don't know if they would. I don't think they would.
Not unless CM Punk comes back.
Oh, don't even say that. Well, it'll be interesting to see how they get there. It was just a weird,
doubling up is weird.
The logic. I
mean, there's a counter to making Starks not look like an idiot. To making Starks look like an idiot. The other counter to this is that if you have Starks win the Battle Royal to keep his momentum going, and you don't intend to have MJF lose at all, well, then you would have Starks lose twice to MJF, which is rough. So at least this way, it's only one loss.
And let's be honest. Is MJF going to win this match clean?
No. They shouldn't have put Starks in this Battle Royal is what they shouldn't have done.
I, again, don't disagree with you there. I truly feel like if you're going to put it on anybody in that Battle Royal, it to me logically would have made sense to do Ethan Page because there is an issue there between them.
There is, but then again, you're spending your Ethan Page MJF money on a diamond ring that Ethan Page is probably going to lose. So I guess the ring has really become like, just get rid of it.
But it also it's not a quick burn, or it doesn't have to be a quick burn, right? Like for some reason, why wouldn't Ricky just, all right, let's think about this.
But it has been in the past, been a quick burn though. In the past, it's been you win the Battle Royal, you have the match.
But it doesn't have to be. The match tonight was, if you win, you get to call your shot at any time, right? Like you get to call the match whenever you want. Hypothetically, Ricky didn't have to say we're doubling up the match next week. Ricky could have held on to this for 6 months and then said, I want the ring now. Like they could have done that. They could have done the same thing with Ethan Page, where Ethan Page doesn't do it immediately. Ethan Page holds that for 2 months and then he says, I want the ring. And now you heat up him and Ethan Page.
It's my ring, and I want it now.
It just seemed weird to me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, if you could write anything in the world, why are you writing this? It's just a weird one.
Yeah, it just didn't make sense. What I didn't mind writing though was MJF entering after this match to cut a promo. So MJF came down afterwards, and he said a little birdie told him Danielson didn't show up tonight because, and he knows it's because he's terrified of MJF after what he did to his boy William Regal. He's a bad man, and that's why in a week's time he's going to be a 4-time Dynamite Diamond Ring champion, and he's still going to be the world champion. And he turns to Starks and says that people treat him like some unheralded god of pro wrestling. The truth is, though, compared to MJF, he's the drizzling shits. Or should he say he's a Rudy Poo candy ass, since Starks has basically stolen everything from that other guy. And he tells Ricky he's nothing more than a dollar store Dwayne. He's going to call him the Pebble. And next week on Dynamite, Max is going to put him in his pocket, hop into his brand new Porsche because he's not a poor like the rest of the people in the crowd. And he's going to drive all the way back to Billy Corgan's NWA so Ricky can wrestle on YouTube where he belongs. And he doesn't care that he's absolute because he's a generational talent and his reign of terror has just begun. And that's when Starks decides to put his shoulder into MJF as he passes by and gets his microphone of his own. And he calls MJF Maxi Pad and says he should have expected a fifth-rate Roddy Piper wannabe to come out there and try to steal the spotlight. And he does all the things he normally would, trash the city and the people and, all the other shticks that you would normally trot out because it's low-hanging fruit, but that's running dry. And every week MJF comes out smelling like paint thinner and ass, eczema like he's laid down on an anthill for a week, clothes that don't fit. He thinks he's better than Starks. Well, everything about Max screams cheap, from his suits to his heat. And that's our world champion? Well, that title comes with responsibility that Max doesn't know anything about. The difference between them is that he gives the people a reason to keep cheering. Max lets everybody down every time, and he can't run off because he got out politicked by someone smarter than him. But Ricky's here every week. So while Friedman avoids pressure, Ricky takes it in. He does meet and greets, and besides his nose being a lot darker than the rest of his body, Ricky lives with dignity and respect. When he was living in his car in South Austin, he was grinding, and Max thinks it's because, Max thinks that he has what he has because he pays people and kisses ass to get whatever he wants. Well, next week is a big deal, and next week he's going to stomp the mole off his neck, stomp him a new asshole. And he's going to take that title and do him a favor that he's never done in his life. He's going to take responsibility off his plate. And of course, MJF is pretty reasonable to that promo, and he kicks Ricky right in the crotch. And right, I just love, I love when Max does it because it's just so nonchalant. He's just like, "Huh, well, okay, right in the crotch.
Here's a low blow coming at you."
Right. And then he looks to hit Ricky with the Dynamite Diamond Ring, but Ricky is able to duck it and hit him with the spear. Starks holds up the title, and we sort of move on to the next thing. So guys, I liked these promos. There were a couple moments where I felt like Ricky's mouth was just moving a little too quick. Just slow it down. It'll all come out, but I didn't mind the content that did come out. There were a couple moments where I was like, just slow down a beat, Ricky. Like, it's all coming out. Like, we get it. Just slow down. Because it started to get jumbled. But I like this. Like I said, I love when Max kicks somebody in the crotch because it just happens.
It's super casual, yeah.
Yeah, he's just standing there and he's just like looking at the crowd and it's like, boop, right in the peanuts. So I like this whole thing, and it sets up the match next week. However, like we said, it's a bit telegraphed, right? There's no way they're pulling this title off MJF after he's been waiting for it for how long. So I liked it. we'll see what happens next week. It should be a fun match. I think we know the outcome though.
Yeah, I really liked what we got tonight. I really liked Ricky Starks calling out MJF leaving the company, like him digging into the fact that MJF went away when he was supposed to be at a meet and greet. I loved that. Like, that's such a good way to be like, you're a heel and you turned your back on the fans without being like you betrayed the good people of wherever. Really, really good stuff from Ricky tonight. It telegraphed, yeah, further telegraphed by what happened the right before this. Hell yeah. Like, you didn't think that Ricky Starks was going to win here, but this is when predictable is okay because it's good. And I think it's helping Ricky's cement his face turn down the mountain a little bit. Like, he's looking like a top face in the company, which I fully believe he is. His spear is one of my favorites in all of wrestling. Like, you have like the Goldberg spear of people like exploding, or Braun Breaker in NXT does it really well. And then you have the Ricky Starks spear, which is just, I'm going to heave my whole body at you. Like, so committed because I'm not the biggest dude in the world. Really, really good stuff. Liked a lot of what Max had to say, but this felt to me mostly like classic heel setting up the face to kind of get his jabs in. Loved him calling him a fifth-rate Roddy Piper when he got called an imitation Rock. Like, that's really, really good. I really liked it when Wheeler called MJF out on his shit. I liked the way Ricky did it tonight a little bit better. But I really liked it. I thought that this was a really hot segment. It made me more excited for the match, which is the intention of the promo. So good on them. But I think this has been a really healthy build for Ricky Starks. He turned face. He started winning more. He won tournaments. He's won the Diamond Ring. Like, this is a really good use of him for somebody who was only being given inches and now he's taking miles. So kudos to Ricky.
Schlong, what do you think of the promos?
Well, I mean, he was gonna talk fast because he just got out of a match, so it's hard. His adrenaline was through the roof. I don't think slowing down.
Adrenaline through the roof.
Hey, wrong company.
MJF looks like a goof.
Oh boy.
Nailed it.
Anyway.
Oh, how does your own medicine taste, sir?
And how do you treat me when I do it, huh?
Yeah, go for it.
So anyway, I think with his adrenaline so high, he couldn't slow down, and it showed energy, so I didn't mind that. This whole feud is not about Ricky Starks winning. It's about Ricky Starks proving he belongs with main eventers. And they're doing that. They did that tonight on the mic. He went against one of the best in the company and proved he's just as good. And they'll do that in the ring next week. And then coming out of this, he may have lost, but no one will doubt that Ricky Starks belongs in the main event scene. So this feud will have accomplished two things: a good first quick feud for Max just before he gets to Danielson, and a way to establish that Ricky Starks is a star and belongs to the top tier of this company.
Yeah, I mean, after this, I don't think Ricky takes a step back. You hope Ricky doesn't take a step back, right? I mean, I think he's showing the crowd's behind him. And again, not to beat this dead horse, but we're talking about lifting up some of this talent we haven't seen. Ricky's one of these guys, right? So I think Ricky continues to sort of be in this picture, moving forward, even though I think we all know what's going to happen next week. But it'll be interesting to see where he goes, because he still seems to have this issue with the firm, right? Like him and he had to battle through Matt Hardy and Ethan Page tonight. So it's not really over with Ethan Page, even though Ethan Page has, his own issues with MJF. So there's a lot of stuff going on. I think it'll be really good for Ricky. But let's keep going. We got a Darby Allin promo with Joe, sort of leading to their match. So we don't really have to go too deep on that. But when we get back from commercial, John Moxley cuts a promo and he says last week, didn't get out of hand. And he said last week got out of hand, and he's really starting to like Adam Page talking with his fists. There's not enough of that around. And this is all elite wrestling, not all elite talking. This is the sport of kings. And tonight he and Wheeler and Claudio, and this weekend, they're going to bring back 100% 100 proof ass kicking pro wrestling. He's over the JAS. and he's going to be out there tonight to ensure there's no sports entertainment shenanigans. And if the Hangman wants another piece, he knows where he can find Mox. So say what you will about this. I liked this pro wrestling, stuff, right? Mox is pretty much saying we're done with the JAS. I hope that this all wraps up the JAS stuff this weekend in some fashion. I didn't have a problem with this too, because we still are talking about Hangman, right? So he hasn't forgotten about Hangman. And I think we're eventually going to get a rematch with Hangman and Mox where we get to the end of the match. But I didn't have a problem with this. I mean, Mox knows what he's doing on the mic.
Yeah, there was nothing wrong with it. I think Mox should go on vacation.
Listen.
Like, he hasn't done a thing wrong, and he's great at what he does. He needs a break, and we should have a breather, I think, a little bit, because he's great, and everything he said made sense, and it was well delivered tonight, and him and Adam Page is a really good story. He's someone that I think, because he was carrying the company for so long, put it on his back, God bless him, it would be good for him to go away, get refreshed, and come back. And that's not a reflection on him. That's just a reflection on over-reliance on him a little bit, I think.
Now, I don't disagree with you, Kate. However, there's clearly, these new turn of events with Regal where, like maybe he was on his way to a vacation, and now it's just another thing comes up, and it's like we've got to sort of just adjust. Maybe it's like, all right, let me sort of stick around for a minute just to sort of address the Blackpool Combat Club. There's obviously a lot of that chatter going on this week. Like, is this over? Is it not? We will talk about the Blackpool Combat Club when we get to this match, because we did find out sort of some of the things with Regal, and when we talk about Regal later, it's going to be the shoot story of sort of what happened to get to his exit from the company. But storyline wise, I think really that's the only reason we're still seeing him, Kate, is just like he's getting ready to go away, and then, oh fuck, Regal's gone. This faction is essentially falling apart. We've got to do something to sort of explain this. That's the only reason I could think he's still sort of hanging around.
Yeah, I would say that, and Renee just getting integrated into the picture and being so good and important that you don't want to rip her away from it. So hopefully he just finishes out the year and then goes on vacation, because I do like the story of him and Paige a lot. So, but yeah, I agree with you. I just feel like if you're waiting for a backstage at a wrestling company to calm down, it ain't gonna happen. So just let the man go on vacation,
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think he's just had the unfortunate circumstance of like everything going on around him falling apart.
Like him so specifically. Yeah.
Right.
Look, it's all
it was like the champion's gone. We don't have a champ. All right, I'll, forget my vacation. I'll strap the belt on me. We'll get through this. And it's like, all right, I'm getting ready to go on vacation. Oh fuck, Regal's leaving. All right, give me a minute. Like I'll figure it out. Yeah. After 2022 ends, let this poor guy go fucking fishing.
Yeah.
For like 6 weeks. Let him go do whatever he wants to do. Schlong, you want to add anything about this promo from Mox?
I just can't believe Kate hates Moxley.
That's exactly what I said.
It's true.
I could only hate him more if he was a women's wrestler.
That's literally all I heard was, I hate Jon Moxley.
See,
she can't even defend herself.
She can't.
Oh, please tell me. Oh, I thought she fully froze. It would have been perfect. Did she?
Nope. No, she's still there.
Optimum.
So we move on to Darby Allin versus Samoa Joe for the AEW TNT Championship. We're going to fast forward to the end, and you can call out things you liked in this match. We get to the end of this match. I don't think it was necessarily
Samoa Joe. Oh, sorry.
Okay. We don't think it's necessarily a surprise. Samoa Joe wins by referee stoppage. He's able to counter the coffin drop into the coquina clutch, which was pretty awesome. And Darby does not tap. He passes out, so the referee stops. And then post-match, Darby Allin's frustrated, but he shoves Joe and, shows him like, come on, I'm still here. And that's when Joe headbutts Darby. And then He continues to beat him down. The referee, Bryce Remsburg, tries to stop Joe. Joe gets the skateboard that Darby came down on. Poor Bryce Remsburg almost busts his ass jumping out of the ring, to get away from Joe. And then Joe hits a muscle buster onto the skateboard trucks, which didn't look comfortable. Jesus, Darby, you don't have to do this. And then Joe gets him back in the coquina clutch. Referee swarm to get him off, but Wardlow is able to come down, and that's when, Joe lets go and sort of hightails it. So, Schlong, let's go to you first. What did you think of the match? What do you think of this stuff going on with Wardlow? What's your take?
The match was a lot of fun. It's kind of what I wanted, which is basically Samoa Joe beating the hell out of Darby Allin. Darby needs a refresher, but I think taking this beating from Samoa Joe might actually be it. Where it's like, I am not who I think I am and where I think I am. I just got my ass kicked. And it makes Samoa Joe look like a killer, which is the best version of Samoa Joe. I like that they haven't given up on the Wardlow storyline, and I like that they're using the belts while also developing a storyline away from it. That's what they should be doing with the belt, like the TNT title. Let weekly defenses happen with people, whether they win or lose, it doesn't matter. It's a fun match. And then you develop a bigger story on the side of that. So I kind of like the whole way they did this. Hopefully this leads to a little bit of a Darby revamp, maybe a heel turn, and lets Joe look like a killer. And we get the Wardlow Joe feud continuing, which is big, meaty men slapping meat.
Ooh. Kate, what do you think?
Oh, I love this. The more Samoa Joe walkaway spots on my screen, the better. We've gotten them 2 weeks in a row. Best spot in wrestling, most logical thing in the world. Loved the coffin drop into the coquina clutch, as you already called out. So good. Like, I really liked this. I also like Darby Allin's promo on Rampage going into this. We kind of discussed the framework of it, but he had said in this, like, everyone's saying that I'm kind of lost since I lost my TBS title, and I am coming back for it now. And he failed at it, so it would make sense if he gets kind of a refresher here. But I think he's the perfect guy to take absurd spots from Samoa Joe. Like, he's a high-profile babyface of the company. You knew he was going to bump his ass off. Like, this cemented Samoa Joe where he is really, really well. And I also just love the idea of Samoa Joe being like Mr. TV, of like having both of the TV titles. It's super fun. So, This was a blast. I really liked this. I thought this was a really strong first 45 minutes of Dynamite.
I will also say what I appreciated in this match beyond, just the bumping and the walkaway spot from that dive through the ropes was perfect. What I appreciate, well, at first I was just like, Jesus, Bryce, get them in the ring. Like, come on, you got to do something as a referee. But what I appreciated was they spent some time outside, and then Joe did put Darby in the ring and pulled him back out to break the count, right? And then at one point, even Joe sort of rolled into the ring and rolled out to break the count. So Joe sort of kept that going. I just really want to see some of these referees like take a little bit of control, be a referee, and not just be like, hey, you guys can spend 20 minutes outside the ring. Like, that's totally fine. And that was after the match started, right? Like, they got outside the ring. It wasn't like they started outside the ring and then got in and the bell rang. So that's just a pet peeve of mine, is like, I just feel like we need a little bit of referee logic here, right?
You're right. And that the refereeing shouldn't be forced by the wrestlers being good at what they do. Like, you shouldn't be relying on Samoa Joe to maintain rules that you're supposed to be enforcing. It's stupid. You're 100% right. Or just call it a no DQ match. Like, you have to do one or the other. I'm with you.
So moving on from this, we go backstage, and Orange Cassidy's being interviewed, and Kip Sabian's there with him and Shivani. And Cassidy says, offers Kip an All-Atlantic Championship match, but Kip sort of says, like, of course you're going to do that now that I got hurt in the Battle Royal. And Orange tells him, we'll go find somebody who can fight on Friday at Rampage. So Kip sort of, curls his mustache, or the non-existent mustache that he sort of has, and walks away. So it looks like Friday night on Rampage. we're going to have a title defense, but we don't know who the opponent is yet. It will be somebody of Kip Sabian's choosing. I bring this up to see, you guys have any thoughts on who we might see Friday night? Will it be a surprise? Will it be somebody in the company? Anybody want to throw out any hypotheses?
So before I knew Rampage was tape, I really thought it was possible it was going to be Miro. Oftentimes when Sean drops a story about something, it tends to show up on screen really soon after. So I thought it might have been, but it's taped, and I don't think they're going to waste a Miro return on a taped Rampage. So I don't know who it's going to be. I think eventually the end game is Miro maybe coming back, because I think you could also have Orange Cassidy immediately drop to Miro and it not feel bad or unproductive. Like, I think that's kind of the beauty with this Orange Cassidy reign, is I think it's been really good for him, but I don't think it needs to like lead to anything insane. Like, he could just drop it to Miro, and I think that would be really, really cool. And fine. Like, I don't think Orange Cassidy is unprotected in that. Miro's a monster. So I think eventually that's what reignites, and maybe you get Kip Sabian saying like, I hated this guy, but I would be an idiot not to want to bring him back in my corner, or he's changed since he's been away, or whatever. Like, there's a lot of things that you can do there. So I think that is where it ends up. I have no idea who he chooses for Friday.
Schlong, any thoughts?
So I didn't realize it was going to be pre-taped. Otherwise, I was on the Kate train of thinking it was Miro. Apparently, I'm very blurry right now, but because Miro is the fun one, there's some logic there, especially with Kip going crazy. So I have no idea, but I will say the one thing AEW does pretty well is these spots. They don't typically do a surprise opponent and have it be someone awful. It's usually someone fun or good, or someone we're like, holy shit. So I have no idea, because there's just no one in the company right now that, besides Miro, do I think really lives up to that moment. But at the same point, maybe my brain doesn't work that well, and there's someone I'm not thinking of.
Yeah, I was trying to think of like who is sort of aligned with Kip Sabian, right? And I don't necessarily see anybody, but I don't think, like, I was trying to think of like who maybe could be a surprise. And yeah, like my mind sort of went to Miro, but again, I don't know if pre-tape they would do that, but also it wouldn't be just the way they've historically done this. Like, Shibata was announced the week before. It wasn't a surprise, right? So I don't think it would be somebody as huge as that. It'll be interesting to see who it is. I don't think this is where the title comes off of Orange Cassidy, but what I can tell you is, at the rate he's been working, it should be a great match, because Orange Cassidy's just been putting on fantastic matches every chance he gets.
Yeah,
so,
he has.
Anyway, look out for that Friday night. We went to break after that, and when we get back from the commercial, they do a little hype reel for Jericho's match against Claudio at Final Battle. And then we go into the tag match, the Blackpool Combat Club, Claudio and Wheeler Yuta with Jon Moxley in their corner, versus the JAS. That's the Red Death, Daniel Garcia. I wish they would bring that back, by the way. They don't call him the Red Death anymore. It's probably too pro wrestling, not sports entertainment.
That's a really good point.
And Jake Hager.
I want to know who it is, who's Orange Cassidy is facing, so I'm looking it up. That's why
I don't want to know. Please don't tell me.
I saw it.
I won't, and just Matt would kill me, so
don't. And Jake Hager, and then Sammy Guevara was in the corner of the JAS. Again, sort of just getting to the finish of this match. Blackpool Combat Club wins by pinfall with the European uppercut from Claudio on Jake Hager. And then post-match, we get an interview with Shivani and something else. I want to pause here just to get thoughts on the match, because there's a lot of stuff for us to discuss with the post-match stuff. So, let's see, Kate, anything you want to call out specifically about the match? I thought the match was perfectly fine. No shenanigans. It was pretty straight up.
No, we got a lot of just good wrestling tonight. Like, I appreciated that about today. I'm trying to think if there were any specific spots, but no, this was pretty good.
I like the hat thing with Hager, right? Right at the start of the match, he took out a hat and gave it to Claudio, and Claudio looked like he was going to put it on, and then he kicked it or tried to kick it into the crowd. Hats don't really fly that well. That was fun.
They do not super aerodynamic. I just am ready to see Claudio face literally anybody else. That's my thing. I'm just so sick of this combination of fellers. Move on.
I think too, it's the same thing we've been saying. They're sort of handcuffed right now with Ring of Honor, right? And I think, again, knowing everything that's kind of been said prior to, all the pressers that he's been doing for Final Battle this weekend, they said they're going to let us know about TV. So hopefully, and now he's saying there's going to be much less of it on AEW television. So hopefully, yes, we can see Claudio move on now from this. And from what Mox was saying, in his promo is we're done with JAS after this weekend. Let's hope they stick to that. And I think they certainly can move on.
Hallelujah.
Schlong, anything about the match you want to talk about before we get into the post?
It was a fine match. It was nothing. It was good, and all those guys are good, so there was nothing bad. Wasn't spectacular either. It was just fun. I like, though, the big thing here is what's going on with the Blackpool Combat Club. I mean, the story coming out, so I'll let you talk about the promo. But but even in the match, it seems like they all seem a little more intense, if that makes sense. And I think that's important for the story they're trying to tell.
Yeah, and I specifically want to call... I mean, we know what we're getting out of all these guys, but just, again, great to see younger talent like Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Garcia just go out and, again, have a great match. And they are going to have a one-on-one match for the Pure title this weekend at Final Battle. Should be a great match. All right, let's talk about the post-match. Shivani's in the ring, and he says he wants to show us an interview he did with Regal a few weeks ago that he thinks might shed some light on recent events. Of course, we know a few weeks ago probably means yesterday, but a few weeks ago, and he shows this video, and Regal says that people will only see this if something bad happens to him, and he says he took great exception to what MJF did to Tony, and he's mad about emails, and so he gave him exactly what he wanted. He's the world champion. But be careful what you wish for, because everybody in the company is now going to be chasing after you. And he realized months ago that he was, he had a surplus of talent in the Blackpool Combat Club, but he knew that they wouldn't let him go. So he wanted to show them he could go, and that they could teach Wheeler and make him the best wrestler he can be. And that, they'll see what he does and take the example. So he says that this is his final lesson, especially for Moxley, is to always stay one step ahead and always keep eyes in the back of your head. And he's Blackpool Combat Club until the day he dies. And it's been emotional. They go back to the ring, and Moxley and Claudio look a little confused and take a minute to sort of get their thoughts together. And John says that he only knows one thing for sure. The three men in this ring live and breathe pro wrestling, and you can call them whatever you want, but at Final Battle, this war with the JAS is over. And he says he's making an open challenge at Rampage, and at Final Battle, Claudio and Wheeler will make their statements. So, we do come to find out later in the show that Friday night Mox is going to face Takeshita. That should be a great match. I think they've wrestled once before and it was fantastic, so it should be good again. And then we have some really great matches lined up for Final Battle. I mean, Jericho's been doing great. Claudio's a great worker. That should be a fun match, regardless of whatever the outcome is. Wheeler and Daniel Garcia, we've seen it before. They fought tonight. That should be great too. So I don't have any doubts about that. As far as the Regal stuff goes, and we're going to talk about the real reasons that he's decided to leave and they didn't pick him up, so we'll get there. But as far as sort of what they're pivoting this story to now, I mean, I guess it makes sense. This is the best they could do, though, right? Like, there's really no other explanation. What sort of sucked for me is that, Mox was like, the three guys in this ring, well, what about Danielson? You know what I mean? Like, is that a conscious thing that he didn't bring up Danielson tonight? I know he wasn't there, but is there a possibility that they're going to question Danielson now? I mean, there's a couple different ways they can go. The Regal stuff, sure, it makes sense. They're rewriting it as they go, right? Like, this is a very sudden thing. I don't necessarily have a problem with it. The big story here is it looks like the Combat Club's still together for now. But we'll have to see what happens. I mean, I don't really know what to say about this. It's all sort of like coming together. I don't really have one feeling one way or the other. It's perfectly fine, but clearly Regal is out, and that's his goodbye. So I don't know. Kate, what are your thoughts on this whole thing?
I liked it. I mean, it seems very William Regal to tie up a story but leave it open in case he ever works with the talent again, and to kind of retcon a whole thing. I thought was a nice touch of, like, because he didn't speak in the last segment, right? And he's supposed to be in the hospital, which they sold earlier in the show. So letting him kind of get to say goodbye with like a half real, half storyline thing, I thought was nice. And this idea that, like, I've taught to a young Padawan, like, go and teach Wheeler. I thought it was nice because I felt like there was some sincerity there, and him saying it was an emotional decision, I'm sure it genuinely was. So I liked that, and I feel like Mox was saying the three of the guys in the ring love pro wrestling. I think was his way of being like, pro wrestling, not sports entertainment, right? Like, where's Regal probably going back to, which is kind of a fun thing. I don't know. I thought about the Danielson thing too. He might have also just been saying, like, three guys who are here right now, give a shit about pro wrestling. So I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out. They're kind of, I think, I don't think they feel super lost or anything. I just am intrigued to see if there's heel turns, face turns, whatever comes out of this for the actual guys who are still here. But I thought what we saw tonight was good. I think it was good that William Regal did what he did. And, like, this is fun, right? Like, if MJF ever did go to WWE, there's something right there if he entered. If William Regal ever came back, there's something right there. So I really like it. I think it was a good way to do stuff. I don't think it resolved a ton, but I don't think it was meant to yet.
Right. Schlong, what do you think about sort of this previous interview explanation as well as the future of the club?
Felt like the kind of video they play on a TV show after somebody dies, and they're like, he left you this last video, and then, so that was kind of weird, but I enjoyed it. I really like the logic behind it. It kind of makes him still the baby face that they wanted him to be, makes Mox have to reconsider some things. It in theory, it's a way to reunify the BCC, so I don't mind it. Realistically, I'm just waiting to see. I would love to know what the story was supposed to be. That's what I'm most curious about.
That would be interesting. There are a couple things in the chat to call up. Asian Joe says the warning to Mox about having eyes behind, in the back of his head. Does this mean the BCC will be broken up in similar fashion of the Shield? Thoughts, anybody? Any thoughts?
I like that. I was wondering if Mox was sticking around to turn heel and then leave. Like, if he was going to take a little time off and then come back, leave them in shambles and then leave is a fun wrestling move that doesn't get used that often. Like, I feel like that's not a device that's that common, because a heel turn usually you want to sustain the momentum. But I don't know. I think you could definitely do that. Like, I think of all the great Shield moments of Dean Ambrose turning on Roman Reigns after he talked about having leukemia. Like, you don't get a much bigger heel turn than a dude who has cancer. You obviously have the Rollins turn that led to something really, really, really strong. It's just tricky because I feel like the person I would want to turn heel would be Danielson, and I think he's heading into this program with MJF. So they don't have to do super clean and hardline baby faces, but MJF is super clearly a heel. So I think that's the only tricky thing, because I don't think you want Claudio working heel. That doesn't really make sense.
Schlong, anything you want to add about possible Shield like breakup for the club?
I mean, maybe. I think it's. I mean, maybe. I think it'd be tough to justify why Mox would turn. It seems it would be so counter to everything he's been in AEW so far. So they'd have to do a little bit more work to get there.
Yeah, I feel like you could turn Mox heel, but right now, he kind of toes that line, right? Like he's a hard-edged baby face. So I don't know. There's a couple different ways they can go about this when they decide to finally break this up. I think they're still selling merch though, so they're probably not going to break it up immediately. Gordon Post says, don't forget Claudio's match this weekend. If he loses, he has to join the JAS. Gordon says if Claudio wins the match but doesn't win the title, maybe a DQ, does he still have to join the JAS? That is an interesting wrinkle.
No, he wins the match.
I feel like they're doing this for like a 3-week run of Claudio in that stupid hat. And I don't love that idea. Because if ROH is getting TV right after this, that's where it's going to be course corrected, right? But sure. I think you could they don't go to the DQ well a lot. So I think there's a really fun thing where it's Claudio and Jericho, and whoever's going to dethrone Jericho shows up and costs someone the match or is the reason for the DQ or whatever. Like in my head, that guy's Gresham, Mr. ROH. But it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. But it's someone like that. Like Jericho's been going after ROH relentlessly. Adam Cole would be awesome if he was healthy. We don't really know his status. So,
right.
But it would make sense that somebody prevents that from happening. If they didn't go back and forth with Garcia so many times, could be him. But we'll see. I think a DQ is a very, very possible scenario, though.
And Asian Joe brings up one more point. Maybe Yuta goes heel, not wanting to be the student anymore of the Blackpool Combat Club. He feels like he's learned everything. That could be an interesting way to break it up, too. It's not Mox and Claudio, but it's Yuta sort of feeling a little big for his britches.
The only issue I have with that is not the actual story. It's that I don't know if Yuta's strong enough on the mic yet to carry himself like that.
No, I don't disagree with that. He could still use a little help on the mic, although when he was doing the MJF promo sort of battle, he held his own. So we'll see. I mean, listen, it is going to be interesting because now they're rewriting the story, right? Like they just have to rewrite the story. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I don't think that the club sticks around for another year. I think, they're going to break it up sometime in the first half of 2023. But we'll see what happens. Either way, this is interesting. After this, we get a House of Black vignette. They declare war on anyone that has an issue with them, and they do have a challenge out for next week. So we'll see the House of Black back in action. That should be fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
And then after they get back from the break, we go to our sit down with Jamie Hayter that was filmed earlier. And she says the division is getting awfully interesting, but she's on top of the totem pole and she's going to do her job to defend the title. So she says whoever wins out of the Shida, I'm sorry, is it Shida or Shida? I can't remember. Anyway, out of that
Shida.
Oh, Shida, and Bunny match on Rampage is gonna get to wrestle her for the title because she is a fighting champion. So Friday night we get a match against Shida and Bunny, and the winner of that will get to face Jamie Hayter. My guess it's going to be Shida, but you never know. Maybe the Bunny pulls out a win.
I love the Bunny,
I'm
but
just glad she's
Hayter's
healthy
still
enough to be
technically
back.
heel.
Yeah, and she does a
for
former
sure.
champion. Just makes sense, even work rate wise. But very excited Bunny's healthy enough to be wrestling again. Good for her.
Absolutely. And it just sets up a great, Jamie Hayter to be great, right? Like she says, I'm going to be a fighting champ, and okay, whoever wins this match is going to get their shot, and I'm going to defend my title. So I like it. I was very happy that we didn't get like a Britt Baker run in on this pre-taped interview where she's like talking for Jamie. I think eventually we're going to get there. At some point, it looks like they're still doing this. We'll get to what they're going to do with Britt Baker next. Asian Joe, you own a Shiita shirt. Put some respect on that name. That's right. I apparently do, Asian Joe. It's a little too large for me now, so I really can't wear it. But
oh, man, I lost all this weight. I'm looking good. Look at me.
Can't help it. I can't help it. What do you want me to do? I go to the gym 5 days a week.
Wear it as a dress.
I could. I'll wear it to bed like a nightgown.
There you go.
I just
A
need
nightie.
I just need a cap.
Nightie.
It's Christmas season. You look like a Scrooge.
I just need one of the nightcaps, and then I need one of the little candles on the candlestick,
And then a kendo stick. Kendo stick, candlestick.
Oh,
cap.
All right.
That is a Luke.
That is a Luke. All right. Next, we go into our women's match of the night, which means this is where Kate went to do something else. It was Jade Cargill and the Baddies versus Kiera Hogan, Madison Rayne, and Sky Blue. Jade Cargill and the Baddies win by pinfall with Jaded from Cargill on Madison Rayne. We did see Jade and Kiera go at it. Kiera did not. It looked like Kiera was gonna take the L, but she did not. So in my brain, I still think we're leading to a Kiera Jade program. She's still, she's been kicked out of the Baddies. I'll say this about the match, and then I'd love your takes. Kate, I'm sure you've read about it or watched the GIFs as you normally do to catch up. This match was fucking weird as shit for me. Like, I don't know if it's Red Velvet just coming back and she was off. I can't tell if it was just Sky Blue still being green and not really gelling. Madison Rayne like she was in fucking sand tonight. This didn't work for me, man. It looked way off. The other interesting thing for me, though, was at the end of this match, after Jade wins, she's celebrating, and Red Velvet didn't look too pleased. I don't know if that was planned or if Red Velvet just didn't know she was on camera and was just like, oh, that was the drizzling shits. But yeah, this did not work for me tonight. I don't know. Kate, you want to talk about the GIFs?
Sure, from, what I gleaned. No, match was not very good. I think the story is great because with Jade, we've had these inevitable outcomes for a really long time. I think if you're going to tell the story of one by one, all of Jade's cronies start to disappear from the picture, and then she loses to Chris Statlander, that's good. Like, she can't do it alone. Is a fun thing to do with her. Like, her ego got too big. She kicked away all the people that have been helping her. Then comes Chris Stat to dethrone her is a nice cadence. So I can at least see the handwriting on the wall there. I kind of thought that with Red Velvet too. Like, I think that maybe was intentional, right? Like, hey, would Kiera Hogan ever do to you? More Kiera Hogan on my screen will be great. Jade's just still not there in the ring, man. So it makes this all a little bit trickier when she has the title, but looked like $1 million as she always does. My God, what a stunning specimen of a human being on my screen. And I like the idea. I like what they're going for with the idea. I think as the women's division is finding their footing, maybe avoiding 6-person matches like this is for the best, especially when you don't have a trio that's like all that Madison Rayne. Right. Sky Blue's been great despite being young. Like, that's something that might need to grow along, but I do appreciate the effort of getting more women on screen. That's a healthy thing to see. And I like that this is where they might be going with what will hopefully be the end of Jade's title reign.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily have a problem with even Jade tonight. It looked like everybody else was just, I don't know what the fuck was going on. Like, Jade was in so little of this match. I didn't necessarily have a problem with her. I mean, it just looked clunky. That's all I could say, in my opinion. Cabbage Sensei says the crowd was hot for this match. I don't debate that. That's totally fine, but just what I saw on my television didn't look great.
No, and it was agented to make Jade kind of the hot tag, which was smart. Like that was a well produced spot to grab the crowd momentum. I think there's an overall feeling that things have gotten a lot better, and so the crowd is going to be a little bit trying to root for them more.
There's also story.
Yeah, story is helpful for sure.
Story, people will cheer story. There was a story between Kiera Hogan and Jade. It's new, but people knew about it and they bought into it. I think trios matches, we're kind of spoiled because AEW has a lot of good trios matches in their men's division, but trios matches can be very ugly if the teams aren't familiar with each other, because you're now trying to work 6 people to tell a story, and it's hard enough to work 2 people, and then like each one gets harder. It's not me saying this. You read like every person you add into something adds a layer of difficulty. I think Red Velvet's first match back was gonna be rough. I mean, everyone's is like it's never as good as it could be. I think the look was completely intentional because Red Velvet is very good at knowing where the camera is and what the camera is doing. She's very well aware, so I don't think she would. Jade is weird in the sense of like, I love her character, I love what she brings, but I'm bored as shit of the story. The Kiera Hogan thing has lightened it up a little bit for me because I'm a big Kiera Hogan fan, and she's been great on Dark and Elevation, and I'm glad that this, like, her getting kicked out of the baddies wasn't her out of AEW, but seems to be more of like, let's make her own thing, or Velvet comes with her and they're their own thing. But either way, it seems to be more of a push for her. But I don't think Kiera Hogan beats Jade. So once again, I'm looking at it like we all say that predictable isn't bad when the thing that's predictable is good. But in this case, it's bad because there's no hope yet on the horizon. Like, we're not doing predictable. We're like, Kate is saying Statlander, which is the great plan. Like, I love that idea, but we don't actually know that. There's been no grounding laid there. There hasn't been like an interview done with Statlander while she's recovering, being like, when I get back, I got my mind on some belts, where you could be like, oh, it's going to be one of the two. Like, we're all making leaps. They need to start laying the groundwork on who could be the one to beat her so that we can get through these wins, but also start kind of having some excitement for like the development of what her loss will be.
I read it as she's going to push the baddies away and say, I don't need anybody. Come fight me right now. And then a returning Chris Statlander beats her, so that it's like a surprise pop. But I will also say, because I'm the only woman here and I can do so respectfully, with Kiera Hogan, that ass. It needs to be said. It needs to be acknowledged. My God.
She's so tiny too. Like, if you ever seen her live and in person, like, she's so tiny.
Small gal.
But that ass is so big.
It's the ratio.
I ain't gonna hate it.
It really is the ratio.
It's the ratio.
The other thing too is, listen, I don't hate the Chris Stat thing sort of dethroning Jade. I just don't think she's that close.
Until then, what? Yeah, of course.
That's the problem, is she's working her way back from another pretty big injury. So I think she's still months away. I don't think it's weeks. I think it's months. But we'll see.
Sandra Bogarts is a San Diego Padre.
No, really? They needed to make a splash. They missed out on a couple guys. So
they threw so much money at Trey Turner and Aaron Judge.
Well, don't mean to derail this, but the thought on Trey Turner is that he was going to come east because he didn't necessarily want to be in LA, and I think his wife is from the Philly, South Jersey area. So that
11 years.
Oh my God. I mean,
but 280 mil.
Boston is in trouble.
It's delicious.
Man. Anyway, let's keep going with wrestling. we get another backstage interview with Tony Schiavone and Saraya. But before she can answer any questions, Britt Baker rolls in and she congratulates Saraya on the biggest win of her career and promises that won't happen again. And she says Saraya came to AEW and her first match was a pay-per-view match against the biggest star on the show. And she has plane tickets for her for January 11th, where Saraya can either sit in the front row or she can have a match. And Saraya accepts. She says, I'll kick your ass again. And Britt tells her, well, I never said it was a singles match. It'll be a tag match against me and Jamie Hayter. So you better go find a partner. And we're sort of left with who the partner is going to be. So again, I don't think there's a whole lot to sort of dig into as far as the interview goes, but any thoughts as to who the potential partner could be for Saraya going into this match? Kate, you had your fingers crossed. I don't know if it's because you love it or if you were in the bathroom and you're just hearing about this for the first time.
Brand new.
Here? Okay.
Brand new. I'm guessing it's either going to be Ruby Soho or Willow.
Willow would be good. I wouldn't hate Ruby either. It just depends on where they're at with this Ruby Tay Mello thing, because they're going to have some sort of sit down on Friday night. So it looks like they're picking that back up, because, Tay injured her and now she's back. So I don't know, but I mean, I wouldn't hate Willow.
Yeah, I think that's gotta be the move.
I'm going to tell you who Saraya needs to team up with, but it's for the AAA mixed tag championships. And I'm not the one who wants this tag. Well, I am one of, but I didn't come up with this idea. It's Sunny Kiss, because that's who Saraya wants to team up with for those titles.
Oh,
that would be fantastic.
And she, in her interview with Doc Mueller, that's who she said. She's like, I want to team up with Sunny Kiss to go after those titles. So
yeah, but she's working heel with the Job Squad, right?
Yeah, but we can get Sunny away from that. I got contacts.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, but no, for this, Willow would be awesome. I think they realize the star they have in Willow.
Yeah, I don't think they're missing out on what they have with Willow. I think they know, that she's a star. It's just ultimately going to depend on what are they doing with Willow, right? And I think that's something that they have to think about now across the board with the women, right? Because if they are going to have Ring of Honor television, we're not going to see as much Ring of Honor, or we're not going to see Ring of Honor on AEW television. You need to fill out a women's division. You have a champion, right?
I agree.
So now,
but I think Willow initially was Ring of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's so over, so loved, and they recognize that I think she's AEW full time now. I think she has already elevated herself into being every time she's out there, she gets a huge pop. She's so good in the ring. She's so different than what they have for the most part. She's like they don't have a bruiser face, for lack of a better term. And she's that, but she's also so lovable. She's so happy. They have this star. So I think I'm with you, Ant. They have to decide what they're doing. But I think they thought that Willow would go one way. And I think Willow has just propelled herself into no. I'm up here with you guys because I belong here.
You heard it here first, folks. Willow swings both ways.
Interesting. Yeah, I just want to be clear. I don't want to see Willow go to Ring of Honor. And I'm not saying Ring of Honor is lesser, but she definitely deserves to be on AEW television. I just think that they have to figure out what they're doing with a number of the ladies that they have in AEW and move some of them to Ring of Honor. Could Sky Blue go to Ring of Honor? Sure. She could use the work and go to Ring of Honor.
Tay would kill it in Ring of Honor.
Tay would. Now, will they split up her and Sammy? That's, that's something you've got to think about. They've got to sort of navigate those waters. Somebody even...
Weird.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I thought you were done. No, you can go. I'll wait.
I was going to say, even somebody like that they just split off from the baddies, like Kiera Hogan, and maybe if Red Velvet splits off from the baddies, you can move them to Ring of Honor, to get some more work in. I think they'd help. I think they could fit in. We've talked numerous times about Diamante. We never see Diamante on television. Put Diamante in Ring of Honor. She could fucking be a star
God.
for Ring of Honor.
From your
But this
lips
is
to
wh-
God's ears.
this is what I was going to say, is that for the most part, I would rather see there's a lot of women's talent that they've used on Dark almost exclusively that I would like to see go to Ring of Honor rather than a lot of the people we've seen on actual TV, because the women's division just now feels strong. And I don't really want to take anyone away, because you need, even though if they're not all being used at the same time, you still need depth in the division to make it feel strong. So they're going to have to, I would use more of the ROH, the dark count for to ROH, Diamante, Emi Sakura, even though she's kind of helping coach away. There's some of those talents that I would bring over to ROH, because I mean, that would be the better use of that stuff. But I could be way off. I feel like you just now had a strong women's division. Why would you then come and pillage it to go fill out ROH?
Yeah, and I'm not saying they take everybody, but I think you can handpick some of the people who've had some time on AEW television but aren't being used regularly to help sort of fill that out and help the others. And
So
let's
Britt
not forget.
Baker.
Sure, let's just move
Right.
Britt Baker. That's totally fine. And let's not forget too that Maria Kanellis is part of the organization right now. They're signed to AEW, but it is possible that they say to Maria, "We need you to help Ring of Honor's women's division, like you did before we bought them."
I would be stunned if that wasn't a part of the deal.
I would too, but I mean, at the same time, you'd also maybe want to say, like, Maria, can you help the AEW women's division?
She might be
could be doing both.
It's not coincidental that we've seen things get straightened out when Saraya and Maria and Madison Rayne have come on board, right? Like, I would be stunned if there wasn't something backstage that was a concerted effort to make that real. So,
if nothing else, they have people in Tony's ear now being like, "You gotta focus on the women."
Yeah,
which it's easier to do when you're not, like, when you're a wrestler who's worried about your TV time as it is. It's hard to be the annoying person in the ear, but when you're an established star, it's a lot easier to go to Tony's ear and be like, "Hey, you gotta put the women on TV."
Yeah, for sure. Well, it'll be interesting to see what they do with some of these ladies, and maybe who's going to team up with Saraya. So we'll keep our eyes and ears open as we get towards January 11th. But guys, it is time for the main event. Our main event of the evening is FTR versus the Acclaimed for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. And man, I will just say this before we even get to the match and the result. The crowd was so fucking in on this match for both teams. Both teams, huge pops. The Acclaimed, of course, come out and do what they do, get a huge pop, topical rap on the way out. And then we get into just a fantastic match. I thought this match was fantastic. The Acclaimed win by pinfall with the victory roll-up from Max Caster on Cash Wheeler. They retain the World Tag Team Championship. But the big news comes post-match here. Post-match FTR, they're disappointed, but they're good sports. They scissor the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass. And that's when the Ass Boys appear on the big screen. And they say that FTR got some presents for Christmas. And they have a card. And it's from Dem Boys, the Briscoes, who say, "We'll see you at Final Battle." But that's not it. There's apparently some gifts in their stockings. And they open the stockings and they pull out a couple of dog collars. So the big announcement is Dem Boys, the Briscoes, versus FTR at Final Battle in a dog collar match, which I would only assume would be for the titles. I don't remember if they specifically said it's for the titles, but it has to be. And the funny thing is, we're sitting there, me and Mrs. Money on the couch, we're sitting there, the match ends, and I just said to her, how can they not have FTR on this pay-per-view? Like, this doesn't make sense. And then they announced it, and I was like, wow, fantastic. And it's also just sort of, again, is sort of such a shame that, the Briscoes' past sort of continues to haunt them, right? They can't be on AEW television. Some of the higher-ups in Discovery, Time Warner, HBO, Max, whatever, don't want the Briscoes on TV because of their prior past saying, homophobic things on Twitter. They've apologized. They've come out and, talked about it. They don't shy away from it, but they're just still not to be on TV. So,
it doesn't take much to find pictures of them standing in front of a Confederate flag.
Well, that is also true.
I think it might be everybody's kind of on this harp of it's the comments. Like Effie has come out and said that they are changed people. Like, why can't they forgive the comment? I'm like, if I'm a TV exec and I Google them and one of the first things that pops up is them standing in front of Confederate flags, like I kind of get where they're coming from with it. My only thing is FTR already beat the Briscoes twice, so I actually don't need this to be for the titles. It very well may be. I don't know if they made that announcement, but it doesn't have to be about that. You know what I mean?
It is, by the way, I just looked it up. It is a tag team championship match. I have a feeling, depending on what's going on with Ring of Honor television, that them boys might win these titles and stick around in Ring of Honor.
I think they're signed to Ring of Honor.
They are.
So that's
that was
good.
announced a while ago.
I just don't know if you want FTR to drop before you give them their moment of having yet another set of tag titles, but I'm excited for it. They were two of the best tag matches of the year. Those ones in the FTR versus Aussie Open.
Yeah.
I don't know. Normally I'm like, but they already won too. I don't really care. Put it on my television again. I don't give a shit. Let's rock and roll.
And I guess we're talking about the post match and them boys and stuff like that. And Schlong, certainly give your opinion on that. But if anybody wants to talk about the match, feel free to interject. I mean, I don't know what there's to say. Like, what did you think you were going to get from FTR and the Acclaimed?
It was phenomenal. I'll just say that. And FTR did everything I expected them to. There were a couple of near falls that I bit at because I thought maybe they would do this going into ROH. Big Rig is such a cool finisher, and Bowens continues to be one of the smartest professional wrestlers in the ring. And to get to see Bowens work with a team like FTR, where I feel like they're both speaking the same language a lot, was really, really fun at a lot of different points in this match. Max Caster is going to be the other side of this a little bit more. I think there's still a little bit left to be desired with him in the ring. He's not quite at that pace, but if I'm nitpicking that, look who the fuck he's in the ring with, right? FTR and Anthony Bowens. It's a pretty elite caliber to be keeping up with there, but this match was a ton of fun, man. I loved.
It went very Midwestern there.
Gross.
Keep up with there.
I love the Bucks. FTR to me is that's my favorite type of wrestling, and they're the best doing it right now. So that's awesome. And this was great. I hope they do a rematch. I don't think the Acclaimed needs a super long title reign. I think them dropping to FTR makes sense, whether that's at Winter is Coming in a response to this or at Revolution is cool by me, but I think they should drop to FTR.
Schlong, what do you think about this whole thing?
I'm sick and tired of people putting their kinks in front of my face. Oh, we're going to be in dog collars. You know what? Keep it for the bedroom. I don't need to see it.
Schlong, if somebody sent you a dog collar, would you wear it on the air?
Oh, that's a tough one. That is a tough one because
what if it was a personalized dog collar and it said Schlong on it?
No, definitely not. I can honestly say that would definitely not happen.
That would move it to the no column.
Yeah, listen, I'm all for the joke, but there's at some point we're starting to cross some territory where I gotta be careful about what lives forever.
I come on this program and I say cum gutters, and you won't even wear a dog collar.
No. Here's the thing.
I know what you're referring to.
Well, no, not even that. It's one thing to come in gutters and to say that, but like there's a context, there's words. The image is what will live forever of just me.
In our hearts.
Anywho. Well, true. Well, some other places too. But
you'd be Daddy Schlong forever.
Damn straight.
Scissor Daddy Schlong.
Anyway,
Whatever. We're scissoring. Nobody
So
can
anyway.
understand the silence.
So the match was amazing. What I feel good about is it makes, by the Acclaimed beating FTR, which I didn't actually think was going to happen, it solidifies the Acclaimed reign as like, hey, we just beat the best tag team in the world. Like, we're here. I love that kind of stuff for them. They are still so over. It's unbelievable. So I can't fault keeping the belts on them. They are that over. I know some people are like, well, FTR is the best team in the world. They may be, but they're not the most over tag team in AEW. Most over tag team in AEW right now is the Acclaimed. That's not even questionable. The after stuff. So this is where, there's a story that I wonder if they're telling with the FTR, which is they don't win the AEW belts. They lose the ROH titles. Then they go to Wrestle Kingdom and lose, the New Japan titles. Do they take away, and I don't know what AAA's got going, but you've already removed titles from them. Do you break them down to tell the story of they got cocky a little bit and now they're coming back like real FTR? I don't know. Like, it's just, it feels like they're almost telling that story of like, we're going to take everything away to give them the 2 belts they want most. It's an interesting.
I think you have to, right? Otherwise, it's kind of all for naught. Like, I just don't know if this is the time you do it. But that was my thing with Kenny. When Kenny was the belt collector, I felt like they didn't do a good enough job capitalizing on we never got the downfall of him because he was so fucking injured. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Yeah.
So I think you have to tell that story here if you're, if they're healthy enough to do so.
And you still don't have to keep them. Like, you can still keep them face because people will cheer. Like, they can be like, what is happening to us? We don't have to cheat. We don't need any of that. What have we lost track of? And really, it could just be we were winning and we lost track of what it takes to win, which is a lot of work. That being said, that them boys, which I'm pretty sure they wrote their note in blood, so they're signed to ROH, and if they win the titles, in my head it goes, well, I guess that means that the ROH TV deal doesn't have anything to do with Turner because they're the ones who don't want. However, then I back that out and I go, there's a big difference between saying we don't want them on our flagship stations of TNT and TBS and saying, well, we don't care if they're on a streaming platform or they're on one of our random True TV things. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a big difference in what channels you're okay with them on and what channels you're not. So it doesn't necessarily kill that. The match is going to be fantastic, even though, well, let me rephrase that. I'm actually not sure. Well, it's nothing to do with.
I was going to bring this up.
Thing makes it weird.
I was going to bring this up too because there's a bunch of people in the chat. It's going back and forth really fast. So like, I'm not going to go back and pull a lot of this stuff up. But there are people wondering, like, how is this dog collar match going to work with 4 people, right? Like, are they all going to be chained together and linked together somehow? Are single people going to be chained to each other? It's got to be a tornado tag because they've all got to sort of be in the ring at the same time. So it'll be interesting to see how they pull it off. They put
a giant post in the middle of the ring, and they put the chains to the post, and they just run around the post.
I'm trying to Google to see if this has happened before, and I can't. I'm not.
Cabbage Sensei said he did a quick search. There is a tornado tag team dog collar match in OVW from August 27th of 2022. So there was one done in OVW. But again,
nothing from like a company where you trust what you're going to see.
Right.
That makes me a little nervous. I mean, they're all such high level performers that if anyone could pull it off, it'd be these 4. But sometimes you get too clever for your own good, and dog collar matches as they are could be really bad if the guys in them don't know what they're doing. And again, these guys know what they're doing, but still you're talking, I don't know if I like that stipulation, but the match is going to be fun.
Well, Asian Joe said, Schlong, how do you do it when you host a 4 dog collar match in your bedroom?
Well, I got 3 gimps in a corner, and then
Okay. Schlong's gonna take a pause.
He feels like he said too much, but what actually happened was he didn't say enough.
That's right. So here's Schlong said something interesting. I never even thought about other networks that are part of the the Turner family, I never thought about True TV. True TV could certainly host a wrestling show. I mean, right now it's pretty much the Carbonaro Effect and fucking
Impractical
the
Jokers
Jokers.
24/7. Yeah.
Yeah. So they could certainly do that. The other interesting thing, though, is I have HBO Max because of my cable, right? I have HBO, so I get HBO Max, and I get these emails from HBO Max. They did just sort of, I don't know if they just did it or if it's been part of the platform and they've never really promoted it, but apparently they now have like a sports thing, because I got an email about watching soccer on the platform, either like World Cup stuff or docu-series stuff. I don't know. I haven't gone into HBO Max to check it out, but maybe it's possible that HBO Max is the home on a streamer and they can show it live, or, you know, they'll tape them and then just put them up there to air at a certain time. That could be an interesting development too.
I always thought, now again, I don't run any of this stuff, so who am I? But I always thought that like the streaming service made the most sense for ROH. It would be something to build out your streaming service to give a, maybe not necessarily live, but a weekly thing to keep people coming back to watch a weekly show. Peacock's been very happy with WWE as far as I know. Now, granted, we're talking orders of magnitude less in being ROH, but still.
They have the catalog too. Peacock does.
Yeah. Well, then you could, but I mean, again, orders of magnitude less, but you could bring the catalog of ROH stuff into a streaming service. It's just, streaming services are desperate for content. Wrestling is a relatively cheap thing to put on your service compared to how much it costs to make other shows, even reality shows. So I don't know. That's going to be the most interesting thing. I was listening to Kate's boss today talk, and over at Fight Club, and they were talking, well, does it just go to YouTube? And their argument was, well, if you just go to YouTube, did you just YouTube or Honor Club? And they're like, don't go back to Honor Club, because then you've just given up and you've killed it. YouTube, I guess, if you really can't get anywhere else, is your next option, and better than Honor Club. But still, both would feel like, why have we wasted this time then?
I mean, the only reason I could see them doing something with Honor Club, right? And apparently, I guess Honor Club was down and it came back. I saw something in passing about Honor Club being back up and running. I don't know if they took it down and then they were working on it and they put it back up. They do own that whole catalog, and it is in the Honor Club. Now, I don't have Honor Club. Millionaire Matt does, and I think I use it once or twice. And I think most people have said in the past, like, it's clunky, it's not easy to navigate or find
it's terrible.
Stuff. So maybe they revised that, right? But they definitely have something now that they own Ring of Honor, where they have some sort of streaming platform of their own or a repository for the entire Ring of Honor catalog. Could they reskin the whole thing and make it some sort of AEW streamer? Sure. But I don't think they're going to ask people to pay a premium for Ring of Honor television on a weekly basis.
To be perfectly honest, I don't care. They just need to do something. This is a chokehold on the product. But if you're going to go the self-made streaming route, you might as well launch AEW the network and have AEW on there, have anything, you know what I mean? Like, you might as well just fill out an entire streaming service, and you should have been doing that for the past 10 months.
Or you fully buy into YouTube, like, but you have to really like. I feel like a lot of these companies kind of do a half-ass job on WWE.
No, look at Impact.
Yeah,
it totally killed them. It was free on Twitch, and now you have to pay $1 on YouTube or whatever.
Yeah.
And
like you awful. Have to but you have to fully go in on the YouTube ecosystem, which is what Impact didn't do. The paying the $1 is not the YouTube ecosystem. The YouTube ecosystem is like sponsors that you read within and stuff like that. But I still think the best case scenario for them is probably streaming service for someone else.
Yeah, definitely, probably.
Just to close loop on the dog collar match, Cabbage Sensei said another dog collar match, ECW, Public Enemy versus the Pitbulls. Now,
of course it was ECW.
but it's not really an ECW we care about. It's not WWE ECW, right, so it doesn't necessarily matter.
The only one that matters.
Yeah.
I'm picturing that match in my head and just how bad that has to be.
So that's the end of of Dynamite tonight. So we close with that big news of the tag match. So just to recap what we're going to get on the pay-per-view Saturday, and of course subject to change, we're going to get Chris Jericho versus Claudio Castagnoli in a singles match for the Ring of Honor World Championship. If Castagnoli loses, he will have to join the JAS. We're going to have Daniel Garcia versus Wheeler Yuta in a pure wrestling rules match for the Ring of Honor Pure Championship. Of course, we all know the pure rules, X amount of close fists, the rope breaks, the ass grabbing, the open mouth kissing.
Open mouth kisses. Yep.
I've heard they added tickling now too, which is nice.
You're right, but it's only to the penis area. Penis tickling.
Oh, so you could tickle the
How
pickle.
many?
Perfect.
How many penis tickles do you get per match?
It's not how many, it's how long. So it's a combined 5 minutes.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a long time, but it'll get you.
It used to be 10, but what ended up happening is in the first match, two guys just stood across from each other tickling.
It's true.
Inevitable.
Staring into each other's eyes, tickling. We're also going to get Mercedes Martinez versus Athena in a singles match for the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship. Samoa Joe versus Juice Robinson in a singles match for the Ring of Honor World Television Championship. Swerve in Our Glory, that's Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee, versus Shane Taylor and JD Griffey in a tag team match. And the newly announced FTR versus Dem Boys, the Briscoes, in a double dog collar match for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. Now we don't have to go deep on this, but Jesse Ozog says, who opens this pay-per-view? I mean,
Yuta Garcia. No, Pure is tough to open.
They don't shy away from opening shows with, title matches. And of course, this whole thing's loaded with title matches. So if they're not going to go that route, the only thing you'd open with is Swerve in Our Glory versus Shane Taylor. Could they open with the TV title? Samoa Joe versus Juice? That could be another route you go with. I agree, Schlong. I think Pure is a little too niche to open with. Maybe second or third on your card, but there's a lot.
Well, last time they did the coin toss gimmick, right? Of who main evented. The coin toss.
I know. I was saying coin toss.
I'm very tired. I think you could almost do something like that again, because that's how they decided FTR and the Briscoes were going to. It might have cost us getting Jonathan Gresham, but that's why they had that open, right?
Right.
Ian Riccaboni said that, and I loved that justification. So maybe they run that back.
Well, I'm going to tell you this right now. If Jericho goes on last, my guess is someone's coming out.
Yeah, someone has to.
I mean, if you don't end the pay-per-view with the World Championship, I sort of don't know where else you'd put it. That has to be your main event. If you really want to do the Women's World Championship, you could. I just don't think Athena Mercedes is the main event draw. It'll be before it.
You could close with FTR and Dem Boys, though. You could. Like, people would be okay with it.
Could.
Especially with a special stipulation, but we'll see. I don't know the answer.
Either way, it's available on Bleacher Report for I think like $40. It starts at 4 p.m. In the East, and they do a 0-hour free show at 3 p.m. East on YouTube. So be sure to check it out. And like we said, 15 minutes after the show ends, we'll be here live on YouTube to do a post-show breakdown. Me, Schlong, Kyle K. Sparks. I think that's it right now. So yeah, join us on Saturday evening. And again, guys, just a couple things in the news from the past week, as we sort of said before. Dustin Rhodes announced that he's that this is going to be his last year of wrestling in 2023. He did that at Blizzard Brawl tapings. This is his last dance. So he hasn't been on television prior to tonight. He hadn't been on television since August, when he lost the Ring of Honor World title match against Claudio Castagnoli. So perhaps we're going to see more of the Natural in 2023, since this is his last go. But man, the guy's been working forever and is just, been been able to continually do it at a high level. So maybe his body's just catching up, right? And this is it. Guy doesn't need to wrestle. You can keep him backstage and have him work with younger talent. He's got a brain for the business. So this will be it for Dustin.
Wish Jeff Jarrett would take notes.
Listen, Jeff Jarrett is an Adonis.
He's in a boring is.
Okay.
Nailed it.
Mm.
He's an ASS.
ASS. All right. Guys, there was an update on Thunder Rosa. She was on, I think, Busted Open. Or no, I'm sorry. She had been on Busted Open and gave sort of a little update, but on her blog or her vlog, excuse me, she gave another update. She said recovery is going really well. This week I was just able to do squats with a 2-pound dumbbell. I haven't done any lifting in the last 4 or 5 months, so this is huge. Actually, 2 weeks ago I was able to do a 5K, which I walked half of it. I just want to say that because I'm not allowed to run. I can jog, but that's pretty much it. So these are big milestones for me. I have not been able to be in the ring yet, so we're working on that. So again, guys, don't know what the fuck this injury was, but apparently she's all sorts of fucked up.
Yeah. We do know it was a back injury, right? So,
right.
But not what it was. Yeah, but then her
right.
back. But
we don't know if it was like something with her fucking disc or something like that. You know, who knows? I mean, but it can't be good if she's just being able to squat with 2 pounds.
Yeah, and half jogging a 5K. Yikes.
So it sounds like she's still a ways away from any sort of return. And a lot of people were sort of speculating, like, if she even decides to come back. Now, it sounds like she's trying to come back. So we'll put that out of our brain. But, man, I'd love to know the extent of the injury because that's wild.
Light sprain, just a light sprain.
Yeah, she just twisted it. Let's see. What else did we have? Oh, yeah. Athena. So we talked about her turn here a little bit. Athena's had an awful hard turn, right? She's been way more aggressive, and, taking it to people. And as much as people have enjoyed that, apparently she's taken a ton of criticism for it. And she actually just came out and, kind of spoke on it a little bit. And she said, people forget that girls can hit just as hard as the guys. I have to sit there and see Jon Moxley and Jericho and Wheeler, Yuta, and all these guys hit the tar out of each other. I guarantee you, if I was a man, I feel like there wouldn't be as much backlash or anything like that. It's all these old bloated farts that want to sit there and tell us, oh no, we need to go out there and look pretty. And then they complain when it's a dance. They complain when we hit hard, get over it. We're out here to be, just as good as the guys, and we give it our all. We put in all of this time and effort to hone our craft, and I feel like sometimes we are underappreciated when we do things like that. Could be working a little bit here, in what she's saying, but honestly, what she's saying is not wrong, right? Like, nobody criticizes Mox or Jericho. I mean, Jericho had his chest split open, from getting slapped in the chest. I mean, I have no problem.
Run over his face.
Very true.
Yeah.
I have no problem with Athena having this persona, and I honestly can't believe people would criticize it because to me it makes it more real, right? It doesn't seem like a dance and it doesn't seem choreographed. Like, it seems real. I'm all for it. I mean, Kate, I'm sure you don't have a problem with it either.
No, it fucking rules. It's just like the Disco Infernos and the Vince Russos of the world that want to bitch about stuff. But I think it's awesome. Like, it was a missing piece. I think nobody in AEW is doing it, and I think it helps her a lot. So, kick ass. You go, girl. I'm
And
gonna be in
guys-
the bathroom either way, so it doesn't matter.
That's fine. You don't really, yeah. Guys, in the final piece of news, we were talking about this a little bit before. So we talked about all the Regal stuff. And that's all storyline. And there is obviously a real reason that he is leaving the company and they're not picking up his option. And during the press conference for Final Battle, TK spoke about it. And he said that I got a phone call saying William Regal had approached Mega and said it was all very legitimate and valid stuff. Basically, he has a son who works in another wrestling promotion, that's the WWE. And he really wanted us at the end of the year when we had the option to renew his contract. He was asking that we would not. Nothing bad. We have a great we're having a great time working together, but this is an opportunity for him to go back and work in these golden years of his career with his son and do things that he likes to do, coaching, and he has friends that he would like to go back and coach with. It's a very complex situation for AEW because he's a huge part of what we're doing on screen, and we really value him. There are multiple storylines he's involved in, and as we were going to Toronto that week, obviously I had a lot on my mind. And for those who may not know, Tony Khan said his mother had a stroke. She was in Mayo Clinic. They said they couldn't find the cause. They sent her back out. They found out that there was something on her heart. They were able to remove it. But he said that he got a message from Regal and he made time to talk to him. He went outside the hospital and sitting on a bench outside of the Mayo Clinic. And they had a really long, good talk. He said it was very positive. He really had good intentions for why he wanted to go back. And it made a lot of sense to me why he would want to work with his son and be with his son. He said to me it made sense. Given where you're sitting right now, does it make sense to you why I would want to go back and be with my son? At that point where I was sitting, it really did make a lot of sense. And the last thing I wanted to do in that moment was prevent any parent and any child from being together. He said he sat for 90 minutes in his office after, and that was the longest one-on-one person talk I've ever had with Regal. And they talked and told him they would, make the sacrifices and do the best for his family. So at the end of the day, there are people who have their conspiracy theories that the timing is sort of fortunate, right? His contract's coming up. He wants to work with his son. Triple H just got back into the mix. It seemed like fortunate timing. You can't fault the guy for saying, I want to work with my son, right? So I'm glad that they were able to come to that sort of agreement and let him, not renew his contract and let him go work with his son. Will it suck because I really enjoyed his time in AEW? His stuff on commentary and jabbing at Excalibur was really fun. The stuff he did on screen, the whole thing with MJF was fantastic. So it's going to suck. And I'm sure that there were people backstage who really valued his opinions and were soaking up anything he had to say like a sponge. So it'll hurt him. But at the end of the day, they're doing right by somebody they've got under contract. So I guess good story all in all.
Yeah, I think honestly, if I'm William Regal and I had the option to go to any wrestling company in the world, the place he can make the biggest impact and do, I guess, what he really, really, really loved talent scouting. And if he has the opportunity to go back to NXT and do that and help his kid in the process, like, how could you blame him for that? But I guess he had a clause that said he can't be an on-camera character for like another year, which is interesting. All three brands could use somebody that makes decisions. So that's kind of a bummer for them, but I think fair, but good for him. Like, I think people should always get to go work where they want to work if it's an option. And it sounds like he left on good terms, and it's pro wrestling. So who the hell knows? Regal's worked everywhere. So
yeah.
And everyone's saying
it's find his way back too. Oh, sorry, Schlong. He could always find his way back, right?
Of course.
His son contract runs up or gets released. Maybe his son finds his way back to AEW and he says, I want to continue to work with my son. Or maybe just his contract runs up at the E and he wants to test the waters elsewhere. Nothing's off the table. It's pro wrestling.
Hell yeah, it is.
It's also not convenient timing. He signed with AEW after he got fired. Then the person that fired him is gone, and the guy running it is someone he has a great relationship with. It's just adapting to changing situations. It's not like he always had the option to go back. No, as soon as that option came back on the table, he's like, I'll be honest, I'd rather be where my son is. So it's a realistic where he can also influence his son's career the best because his son is not, Seth Rollins on the main roster who doesn't need William Regal. He's still up and coming. He needs him. So like anyone trying to conspiracy is just looking for something to have a conspiracy theory about.
Yeah, I know I sort of joked about it before. I don't think there's a conspiracy theory going on.
No, but I mean, there was contract tampering, right? We do know that. So it is a little bit like, who's the first guy Triple H would want to reach out to? I can understand that. I just don't like people acting like William Regal was pulling a Tessa Blanchard or something on the way out. Like, but
yeah, and I also, you hate to see the stories too about like talent didn't appreciate him in AEW, right? Like nobody wanted to learn from him. Like I fail to believe that.
If you're listening to anything EC3 has to say and assigning any weight to it, I just don't have any respect for you.
Well, EC3 is controlling his narrative, so
I gotta be honest, I don't think he is. I don't think he controlled his narrative at all. I think his narrative is running out of control.
It is not controlled by anybody but EC3, and I think the problem is EC3 is a little unhinged. And he's also not a very compelling character in the wrestling ring. Boring. Anyway, that's all I got, unless you guys have any other news or notes to bring up. But I'm good there. And there's a lot going on over the next week. So like we said, Saturday, come back and join us. Kate, where are you going to be when you're not here?
So unexpectedly, I'm doing the ROH post show at Fightful this weekend, and the NXT post show at Fightful. So we'll see how that goes. But I unintentionally bullied Sean into letting me do the show with him, so I'll be doing that as compensation for the fact that I have to cover NXT as well, which is going to be terrible. So
She's trying to compete with us.
I'm not trying to compete with you. I'm bringing everybody a double dose of Kate on Fightful YouTube this Saturday.
Yeah, not here. Not with us.
We are 3 hours into this episode. You think we could do a post show and I could still go cover NXT? I don't think so.
Actually, our post shows are pretty straight to the point.
Not when I'm here. So
I mean the bonus shows where we're really laser focused on just one thing and not have to talk about baseball and all the other bullshit.
I can't believe we just got big timed.
I know, we absolutely did.
If you're wondering where you can catch me, it's on Fightful YouTube because I'm bigger than both of these fellas combined. But watch this ROH post show and then watch the Fightful post show because nobody watched NXT, let's be honest. But watch our post show over there anyway. And then on Tuesdays, I'm doing Sour Graphs on Fightful. Fridays, I'm at Fightful doing AEW, Rampage, and SmackDown post show. And I have my own Patreon. It's free.
Boy.
Patreon.com/MissKateFave. You could pay if you wanna, but I'm not providing any value yet. So all my posts are public. So just hang out there for free.
Yeah. You'll want to start paying when the foot pics come.
Hey, all right. I do have a joke tier that's $69. So if you want to pay $69 and it just says nice.
That's OnlyFans, right? OnlyFans?
Patreon.com/MissKateFave.
I'm going to be really upset though, Ant, when she puts the foot pics out there and I recognize my feet and realize what she's done.
Mm-hmm. It'll be bad.
Where are you guys at, guys?
Schlong, go ahead. Where are you at? By the way, in 2023, don't expect Kate to be here anymore. We're going to get big time to out completely. And it's okay.
I lasted longer than Matt, so.
Yeah, we can't even compete with a truck. Go ahead, Schlong. Where are you when you're not here?
I'm remaining loyal to this podcast. I'm going to be here Saturday covering the ROH post show. Mondays and Tuesdays, you can find me live tweeting dark. And apparently, I will no longer be watching other post shows giving puns since I'm being big timed.
wouldn't watch
follow
any
me
other
there
post show.
at Mark Order Pod. And so Schlong and good night.
And like Schlong, I'll be here Saturday night to do the Ring of Honor Final Battle post show here with Schlong and Kyle K. Sparks, who's not big time in us, unless he does big time us.
You know what's gonna happen because he works for Body Slam. Body Slam's gonna be like, "Hey, we need you to do the post show," and he's gonna big time us, and
we're gonna get big time. I understand it, and that's what we can't compete, but it's fine. We have more fun, so that's all that matters to me. We don't have to worry about all that big time bullshit, Schlong. We control our narrative here. That's all I know. Better than.
Can I come with you? He just said control our narrative.
You guys are definitely more entertaining than EC3. I can promise you that.
And like Schlong said, you can follow us on Twitter and all of our social media for that fact at Mark Order Pod. And when you're following us on social media, feel free to hit that link tree, connect with all of our socials. But most importantly, if you want to support us in a free way, you can request stickers for free. All you got to do is give us your name, your full mailing address, I should say, and the country you live in, so that I can send you out some free Mark Order Podcast stickers, and a letter saying thank you. Also, I want to say thank you to everybody who's watching us live tonight. We always got to say thank you. We've had a number of people checking us out tonight. Jesse Ozog, Asian Joe, Cabbage Sensei, Gordon Post, Slonomite. I got to go so far back. Rob Humphrey was here for a bit. Gordon Post, I don't know if I said you. Kyle K. Sparks was here for a little bit. We got big timed. He left early tonight. And anybody else who maybe I'm forgetting to mention, I'm so sorry, but I can't go all the way back. So thank you for watching us live tonight. And if you're listening to us in podcast form, we absolutely appreciate you too. We ask for anybody who's watching us or listening to us, please, the easiest thing you could do to help support us on those platforms that you listen or watch us on the YouTube is to give us a subscribe on those platforms. Rate, review, subscribe, thumbs up, smash that like button below, whatever. It all helps us in the end, and we appreciate all the people who've done that already to help us out. We see it, and we appreciate it. So thank you so much. Other than that, beyond the post show Saturday, we'll be back next week at our normal time. Will Kate big time us? Will Ryan Schlong be wasted off all of his absolutes?
Big timing stuff coming from Mr. I get listed at Dynamite and can't make the shows. Oh, I'm not going to be here for the last one of the year.
Well, that was a mistake on my part. I bought tickets to something for that last Wednesday and didn't realize it was a Wednesday, but I'm definitely I'm not missing Killswitch Engage and Unearth.
Fuck yeah.
Here in New Jersey. I'm also very excited for it's on January 6th, believe it or not. God Forbid reunion. If you're from New Jersey and New Jersey, like metalcore, God Forbid is reuniting. So it's God Forbid, Bleeding Through, Nora.
We had to call them G Forbid because we couldn't say God Forbid at Seton Hall.
You couldn't say a lot of stuff. You couldn't say,
D Driver.
You couldn't play Deicide. I'm sure of that.
We couldn't say Devil Driver. We had to say D Driver.
D Driver. I think that stuff got lifted. Anyway, but that's going to be a fun show. Shai Hulud too. That's not on a Wednesday, so I'm not worried about that. But
good.
Anyway, guys, like I was saying, will we be big timed next week by Kate? Will Schlong be wasted off Absolute? Will I show up like I always do? Sure. Those things I can tell you may or may not happen. Me showing up, absolutely. But
except for the end of the year, but whatever.
Doesn't matter. Next week I'll be here.
I'm cutting his internet.
Don't cut my internet. Hey, if memory serves me correct, there have been a couple weeks where you're like, my power's out. I'm like,
oh, my power.
It's 90 degrees and sunny.
My car hit the one goddamn pole you can't hit with the transformer. The car hit it.
It hit a Gordon Post? Oh no.
Oh no.
Poor Gordon Post. Anyway, come check us out next week. we'll be back at our normal time, Wednesday nights, right after Dynamite. Thanks, guys. Had a lot of fun tonight. Kate, Schlong. Hopefully I see you next week. So, Schlong.
And good night.
Bang.
This concludes the Mark Order podcast. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming. Join the Mark Order.